Question number 1. Mike Shealy, otherwise known as Mersh, began his quest for fame as a struggling stand-up comedian. Why do you think his career in this particular area of comedy didn't take off?
Okay, so why isn't Mersh doing stand-up? But he's just not funny. He's just absolutely... I watched a few of his stand-up specials, and they're just miserable. They're absolutely miserable. And I don't know, it's so hard to even explain. He just sucks so bad to the point where it's kind of like, oh yeah, no. Basically, if you watch any of his stand-up, you go, oh yeah, like you have to be there to see, like, to know the answer. You go, I wonder why he's not doing stand-up right now. Then you watch it and you go, oh yeah, no, I get it. I'm actually shocked that anyone watches his show. Like, I don't get, like, his jokes just don't land. I don't think his audience even finds him funny. I've watched, Nightwave here and there to, like, see, like, oh, what's he talking about or whatever. No one LOLs in his chat even. So he was not funny in stand-up, but I guess the reason he's doing the live stuff is because you can't hear the bomb. You can't hear the bombing, whereas on stand-up, you do. So...
Yeah, also on his show, he can replace the audience laughter with his own fake laughter as well, which is it's become a bit of a... But in regards to stand-up, I think that obviously it's very of its time. It's very O&A era, Jim Norton kind of edgy, dead baby, rape aids, that kind of stuff. A lot of it, I've been going through a lot of that stuff myself for this documentary, and a lot of it is centered around him being an alcoholic, him drinking a lot, him being a piece of shit, him, sex stuff. Very kind of like that edgy O&A humor that was kind of really popularized by Jim Norton, and ultimately I think he just comes off as a very poor imitation of Jim Norton, essentially.
Oh yeah, no, he is. Mersh is definitely, you could tell it's the O&A stuff. It's the Jim Norton era. I used to hear O&A all the time, so. Yeah, and he used to hear it all the time too. So you could see it in him, like the inspiration there. I think he actually stole a bunch of Jim Norton's jokes. We were watching, Jesse P.S. and Kyler. We were watching, and I'm like, that's a Jim Norton bit. But yeah, he's like the poor man's Jim Norton. He's worse than the poor man's Jim Norton. It's
the homeless Jim Norton.
Yeah.
The couch surfing Jim Norton, yeah.
He's the rotting corpse of Jim Norton.
He's the Jim Norton you can't kick off your sofa, is who he is.
Yeah, but his jokes are like, yeah, so I was an alcoholic, and life's rough, and it sucks, and then he waits for the laugh, and you're like, go on.
Yeah, no, I got a similar feeling, and this isn't just a bash Mersh fest. If it was good, I would give him his dues, and maybe it's a bit that I'm looking at a comedy within a vacuum of a time when that kind of humor was very popular, and it is very of its time now looking back. And I mean, any edgy dead baby date rape AIDS, that it's we've heard so much of it, and we've grown out of it, and it's just and that's not attacking Mersh, because that was Mersh was it was 2005 when he was doing this material. But at the very least, what I will say about someone like Jim Norton, or even Louis C.K. when he was doing sort of similar stuff back then, they still had something funny to add to it. They were able to turn that material into the framework and mechanisms of a joke in a sort of sense where there's a payoff and where there's some kind of clever turn in there somewhere. With Mersh, it was very much just a series of him almost using edgy phrasing and edgy as a crutch. Punchline. Yeah,
It was the
exactly.
punchline.
That was the punchline. The punchline was just the edginess of the scenario, or just the edginess of the word, rather than it being a clever joke.
Because like a joke is like it's broken up into parts, you know, a setup, punchline, and then tag. And the idea is the punchline could be dirty, but it has to be clever. The dirtiness is supposed to enhance what the punchline is, and then you have to tag. I remember when we watched I forgot what his stand-up was called. Remind me, the
Killjoy.
Killjoy, yeah. So when we watched like Killjoy, there was no setup and punchline. It was just like the punchline was, and then I raped her.
Yeah, exactly. Like it's like you said, that the rudeness of the language or of the scenario or anything like that, that's supposed to punctuate the punchline, whereas it can't just be the punchline. And I think that was his biggest sort of. Maybe I'm
wrong here, but I've never heard him tag a joke. Like maybe he does, I guess. Like he'll tag it with like a little phrase or like a mumble or something, but it's never a clever. The tags are supposed to be like the joke lands and the tag keeps the audience laughing.
Yeah.
Right? And there was none of that. And there was a lot of like say the rude thing and then he just like waits there.
Yeah.
And then I'm sure you'll cut in some of that shit.
100%.
That statement because
yeah.
Like, and then you go, and there's always the one guy who's drunk in the clubs, like, and then Mersh, like Mersh in his mind, he hears that one guy laughing, and he's like, this is killing, right? Yeah, he knows what I'm talking about. He knows what I'm talking about. The dead fucking baby that was raped, right? You're like, yeah, okay. I'm sure the guy's blackout drunk. You know, he doesn't even know what's going on in the club.
Did you see the sort of clothing choices that he was making at this point, where he was, I believe at one point he was wearing a fedora, fingerless gloves, and like a snooker jacket, like waistcoat. And at other points he was wearing like a Matrix, he was like going full Matrix with the gel back hair and the sunglasses, and then like Linkin Park jeans and like a blazer, and just the most mishmash of just, it's almost like you've just randomized a Sims 2 character or something.
Yeah.
And like
the visor, he was like, you know, the visor with the hair. Yeah.
Yeah, it's just like you've gone overkill on all the accessories on a character generator.
It's a Halloween, like I remember like seeing some of them and I was asking him like, is this like a Halloween? I thought it was Matrix. And then like Jesse was like, nah, man, this is like I'm like, and yeah, it's like all his phases were an exaggerated version of like that movie, like that period of time's movies.
Yeah. You
know what I mean? Like, oh, it's now the raunchy, you know, college movies.
Yeah.
The visor with the fucking frosted tips. Oh, it's the Matrix era. The bullet time. He's wearing the Matrix thing.
Yeah,
you know?
Right.
The goth phase. The goth.
Or like, he's seen Vanilla Ice and he's like, okay, I'm just gonna go double strength into like looking like a wigger and gonna go for the like British like Council Estate chav look.
and now he's like, so I think for the last like few years, his style has been like the blazer over a t-shirt, like over the t-shirt for like a few years. I met him like I think 4 years ago, and it was the blazer with the shirt, and he still had that on, right? He's never changed it since then. But now he's looking for a stylist.
Oh God, we will get to that. Trust me. But
okay.
I always think that the blazer is not really a stylistic choice, but it's a fat cope, and it's just a way of making him look like he's got shoulders, so he doesn't look like a giant pear with a head on top of it.
Yeah, I don't know. Like, it's one of your outfits, fine, but it's like the outfit.
Yeah.
Well, that's it.
And by the way, I'm not attacking fat people. It's perfectly fine to be fat, but there's a way to be fat. There's certain things you do as a fat guy to kind of make you know, you wear oversized football jerseys and knee-high shorts, and you know, you just be a fat guy, wear Hawaiian shirts and just embrace. He's the worst fat guy on the planet.
Well, that's because you want to know why? because fat people, like, yeah, they'll wear whatever, and then you'll see them grow till they're fat. Mersh, it was like one day he was fat. You know, like that coat hit it, and then one day you're like, wait, you're fat.
Yeah.
How did this happen? There was no transitional period between skinny and fat. It was just like,
yeah.
What? But you always, it's like shaving your head. You're bald now?
Yeah, yeah.
What the fuck?
It's exactly. It's like it's someone that's cleverly hid his receding hairline and then has suddenly just gone for it. And it's like, oh, you were bald all that time.
Yeah, they took the hat off.
Yeah, it's the guy that took the hat off finally. And I mean, we'll get to the boldness as well.
I know.
All right, question number 2. As a fan of Opie and Anthony, Mersh attempted to ingratiate himself with the show by driving Bobo, a retarded Mets fan and O&A regular, around New York City. He would then book a half-hour set for Bobo before recruiting him as his opener for his ill-fated comedy album Killjoy, whilst receiving next to no acknowledgement from the show Opie and Anthony. Why do you think he was unable to transition his considerable efforts with Bobo into anything substantial with the O&A crew?
Oh, first of all, holy shit. First of all, I'm going to say holy fuck.
Oh, did you not know any of that?
I knew kind of, like, he hung out with Bobo. I don't know. He was like driving him around to get on the show.
He was his chauffeur to get on the show.
Okay, so if you're Bobo, okay, first of all, O&A, they didn't like use Bobo. It wasn't like a co-host of the show. He was the joke of the show. His name is Bobo, and he's retarded. And you're the retarded guy that people shit on, chauffeur. Like even if his stand-up was fucking pristine, 10 out of 10, they still wouldn't respect him because they were mean. They were like very vicious. Like, to get on their good side, you better fucking hit all the right dominoes to make that happen. Bobo is not the right domino to hit. That's actually, it makes them hate you more. That's like, I don't think that he ever had a chance. Like there was no there. Like, Bobo wasn't the door for anyone, I don't think. I mean, maybe I'm wrong. Was there anyone who came through Bobo?
Of course not, no. I mean, no, Bobo was O&A's retard, which by extension, Mersh was Bobo's retard. Mersh was Bobo's Bobo.
And he had to hang out with Bobo. That's even crazier, like, if you really think about it. Like, so not only did he get, like, shunned out, this actually probably, like, made them go, that Mersh guy, don't get him in. Do not get him in. Like, all right, like, well, now we know, because that's fucking insane to me. I can't believe he tried that. I mean, I guess he tried any way possible, right, to get in.
It's also so transparent as well. I mean, they must surely see that Mersh is doing this, and they must realize that this isn't a guy that's just charitable. This isn't like Meals on Wheels for the disabled. This is a guy that's actually trying to shoehorn this into an appearance on the show, and we're not going to fall for it because we don't bow to desperation.
Yeah, I think the way they got comics on their show was through a comic met one of their friends at like one of the clubs. And it's like, oh, I like this guy. They'd bring him in as like a, fourth or fifth chair during a certain segment. They would make him laugh. Boom, you're in. Now you're part of the group, like the Joe DeRosas and the Bill Burrs and all that stuff, right? Louis and all that stuff. And everyone grew from that show. Like, almost everyone like grew like using Opie and Anthony. It was a great platform for all these guys. But anyone who tried to sneak on the show, it was just worse for them. It just ruined their careers. And but being Bobo's friend, it's not even like you don't even have a chance to be bashed by them because you're below Bobo. He was like the monkey, the fucking dance for us, bitch, on the show. They hated Bobo, I'm pretty sure. Yeah. I think like Anthony ended up like having him over at the house a couple of times, but they like did not like Bobo. And I think there was an era, maybe this is when Mersh did this, but there was an era where Bobo would come to Opie and Anthony's like studio at the bottom. They're like, they have a phone call saying, "Hey, Bobo's downstairs." And like, tell him to leave. Like, we didn't invite him here. He's like, "Oh, like why? Like, I want to go upstairs." Like, they didn't like him. It was a joke. Yeah.
Yeah, that is true.
It was a joke. Yeah.
Yeah, no, you're completely right. All right, question number 3. Again, Opie and Anthony related. Mersh's cringe-inducing attempts to curry favour with the Opie and Anthony communities, such as Whackbag and the ONA subreddit, would be met with a constant wall of indifference and quite bad abuse. He would elicit a similar reaction from Red Bar's Bring Back group. What do you think it is about Mersh, in your opinion, that these communities were either wary of, suspicious of, or just simply didn't like?
Well, because when you're part of those types of communities, the idea is you're watching the show and you're talking about like what they're talking about, making fun of everyone they're talking about. You're joining in, you're helping out, you're pitching in. Him, it was, "Hey guys, I got some stand-up here. I posted this stand-up. I'm gonna be here." It's just promotion. It's just self-promotion. There was like, I don't really think he really like puts in any like actual commentary to make these people laugh. It was just promotion, and everyone's like, "Get the fuck out of here." That's all. He used it as an ad for his stuff, and everyone can smell that like desperation, especially on these communities like Red Bars and like Opie and Anthony. It's not like sunshine and flowers and rainbow. You know what I mean? It's like the fucking craziest people, and they're there to shit on you. So you better like, even if you're going to like join the community and say a joke, like for example, Opie and Anthony, when you'd call in, you better have been funny. Because they like, you could be like the biggest fan of their show and you fucking bomb. They're like, "You fucking suck." And they just hang up on you and they just never meet your heroes, as they say, right?
Yeah.
Oh, shit.
No, you're absolutely right. Especially with the Red Bar Bring Back group. I've got some screenshots actually of Mersh's visits in there. And it's quite ugly. Like, he goes in there and he tries to get posts going, and every time he tries to do it, it's not an organic thing of like, "Hey, check this out, let's all laugh together at it." It's, "Hey, check this out, here's me and Royce talking about it over on our show, Revenge of the Six." It's just a plug. It's just you're there to plug your stuff. You're there to direct people towards whatever it is. And then he, at the same time, it got to the point where he just kept whenever he would write on the Bring Back Group's Facebook page, it would all be prefaced with the same sentence: "I know you guys hate me, but..." And if you're writing posts in a community with the preface of "I know you hate me, but," then maybe don't be there. Maybe you're not welcome.
Yeah. Imagine every promotion you do. "I know you hate me, but..." Okay, yeah, you are right. You're completely right. We hate you. That link is not like being clicked. Okay, that link is not going to be clicked, and if it is, it's to dislike, to flag, to comment that you're a piece of human garbage, to put you on Kiwi Farms, to ruin you. Like, and then like he'll be like, "I know you hate me, but," and he links his stuff, and then they go in there and go, "You fucking suck," and he goes, "Get out of here," and he blocks them. You're the one, you knew that we hated you. You invited us.
Well, he did the same thing. Bad. He did the exact same thing with you guys back in the day with the IBS community, and it was at the very height of IBS with you and Metica and everybody on, and he does the sticks thing, completely bombs, makes a complete arse of himself, and I've got it in my Mersh folder, which drives Mersh mad, by the way, that I've got a folder of over 200 gig worth of great content. There's a clip of just straight after where he's dedicated an ROTC intro, a 20-minute intro, talking about how IBS aren't funny, how no one there is actually worth watching, and how you should watch us instead. And it's a complete, just crazy. I mean, this is from back in like 2018 or something when he's doing this, where it's kind of like he's doing an intro to the show with him and Royce is in on it too. He's got the same energy as Mersh during this outrage, and it's essentially. You can see what's happened. It's essentially Mersh and Royce realizing that we will never be invited to the big boys table, so fuck you. We're gonna do our own thing, man. And it's just, you know, it's embarrassing, really.
That's the funny thing, is because it's not even only that time. So yeah, so he would apologize, sing happy birthday to Styx. He, no, guys, you're cool. Heads right to his show and talks mad fucking shit. But it's not only that time. It's every time this has happened. Every time it's like, no, you know what? No, me and you, Andy, we're cool. Yeah, it sends a clip the next day. This is like happened like 5 times. This is why he's like, why is Andy backstabbing me? Because every time I'm cool. Yeah, me and you are cool. Smash cut to him going, you know, but Andy's is kind of a piece of shit, you know. I'm like, you're doing this on the air. This is live. I see this. I'm not gonna. I remember he was shitting on Kyler, right? So we were completely nice to him, and we were on D-Live at this time, and he kept saying the N-word on our show, and D-Live's like, say the N-word, you're gonna get banned. This was our job at the time, right? So we're like, don't say the N-word. He said it like fucking like 6 or 7 times. And we're just like, we had to like erase the episode, apologize to D-Live and all that stuff, right? And so he really disrespected us. So all Kyler said was, I don't know why he kept saying it, maybe he was drunk. And Mersh acted like he was like, I would kill your mother. Like, it was like that reaction of like, oh my God. I would fucking he's like, can you believe it? Can you believe we try to keep in our jobs? You fuck. Like, he's retarded. And then he doesn't even realize he's such a piece of shit, right? A piece of human trash. And then when you're just like, you're fucking a piece of shit. I don't want to be your buddy. I don't care. Like, you're an asshole. And then he's like, oh, you're switching sides.
Yeah.
You know what? Yes.
Sure, Mersh. We're switching sides. Sure, that's what's happening.
Oh, Andy's trying to be friends with Jesse now because, he's like the Jim Norton of the online community. No, I like I like Jesse PS, and I don't like you. Like, you're not like Jesse's funny. He's funny on the show. He's respectful on the show. Though he fucks, he's a troll though, right? But we know what you know. But Mersh, you're just a piece of shit. We've given him so many chances. There's so many chances you can give until you're like, look, dude, I don't know. Like, and by the way, like, so the aim thing happened. You make fun of it, fine, right? Or any of my other like blunders. Yeah, okay, I get it. I get I'm not retarded. I know the game of the internet. I know what you have to do when aim is the #1 thing being talked about. You talk about it. And it was everything, and he'll take all these pot shots and this and that. And then when Mersh does something funny, which is every day, him walking is the funniest. Like, him walking is the fucking, I can't help myself. And then when you like, look at that, man. You put a trumpet sound with Mersh walking, 2-hour fucking nightwave radio about you because you said like, one thing.
He can't acknowledge ever. He can never acknowledge that he's fucked up and that he needs to just eat shit for a bit. Like, even during the snitch, you're thinking of a situation where there's no grey area at all, where it's clear as day that you're in the wrong, you've done something that's very embarrassing, and that you've put yourself in a position where it's very difficult optically for you to get out of it. And the very least that people expect, and look, Mersh doesn't have to do it. He doesn't have to abide by the rules of the internet. He can do whatever he wants, and he chose instead to just continue to lash out, to deflect, to lie, and to make it a lot. I mean, essentially, he made it a lot worse. And he might not see that. He might be like, well, it's not worse for me because I've still got all my fans. I've still got all of my donors. I've still got my show. I've still got this, that, and the other. And that's all well and good for him. But, you know, I think that eventually things catch up to you. And it's no coincidence that the longer he's done his show, I mean, it started off like years and years ago. It started off with just me leaving before Jesse even. Yeah. And then Jesse. And then after a while, you know, more and more people here and there. He lost big, close people to him, like Executi and people like that. Really big sort of CIA Bog and now Balisong and all them. And now with you as well. And then eventually he gets the attention of Metica. And he thinks in his head like, well, you know, I don't need to apologize. I don't need to make amends. I don't need to acknowledge my own downfalls because everything's still fine. And it's like, well, no, everything is accelerating towards making your life more difficult. And he said today on his show, he was like, he didn't necessarily care that he was that he had a lot of spotlight on him and he had a lot of trolls because he lives for this and because it's, you know, fun for him. And all I'd say to that is it's fun until it's not. Like, there's going to be a point where it's not fun for you anymore. And that's not a threat. It's just the reality.
He says that, right? He says on his show, he goes, you know, I live for this, the trolls and everything. Then why did you tick, 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 to a detective? You fucking... I'll say one thing. I think him fucking tinking to a detective was insane.
Oh yeah.
But the tink thing was worth it. It was worth all.
I loved it.
It was worth all of this.
Yeah.
But here the thing is, so like he acts like, so with the Medicare thing, for example, right? So on Ralph's 24-hour stream, I guess he was on, and I can't remember exactly because it was like 10 hours in. I was drinking and shit, but he just kept like going, Andy, you think Medicare has cancer?
Yeah.
And I'm just like, yeah, like sure, yeah, okay, yeah. Yes, and he's like, will you believe that? I'm like, yeah, really, you believe that? I'm like, well, if he doesn't, then okay, but if he does, that sucks. But you're gonna believe it. And at a certain point, he was trying to press me on this.
Well, he's looking for an ally, isn't he? He's looking for someone to go down the ship with him, so that it's not just him that's getting shit on by Medica.
I ended up saying, look, I don't fucking care. You know, like I don't care. And then Medica had a stream where he was talking like about the whole Mersh incident, and the whole on the 24-hour stream. And there's me saying, I don't care if he has cancer. And people were like, oh my God, Andy said that, like in Medicare's chat.
Yeah.
But that was after being asked like 70 times. Like at a certain point, I'm like, I don't think you understand. I don't care. If he has cancer, I hope you're healed soon. If you don't, good troll, I guess, buddy. I don't think about it. I'm not like.
Well, I think from your perspective, it was essentially saying, I don't care about your line of questioning. I don't care about your haranguing me for this one point that's irrelevant to what we're talking about. I don't care about your agenda against Medica. That's how I interpreted it.
Yeah, because like those people like Andy's piece. Like, yes, I care if he has cancer. I care if anyone has cancer and is dying.
Except Mersh.
But I don't care. Like, I don't think if I don't go, does he have cancer or does he not? I don't care. I'm gonna take his word for it, and if he doesn't, you know, okay. I'm actually happier you don't have cancer. Like, there's no benefit to me at all. I mean, I hope no one has cancer. Like, if that's a thing to say, I guess.
I mean, like Medica. Obviously, Jim has been severely ill, and obviously there's something that's happened
Yeah, of course.
with his health that has obviously impacted him quite severely. I think what Mersh is doing, it's the same thing he's been doing with Red Bar as well, and it's he thinks he's being cute, he thinks he's being clever, and he thinks that he's but it's just manufacturing just something out of the blue, because he doesn't really have anything. It's the same with Red Bar. Like, he doesn't really have anything on Red Bar, so it's all the same kind of, oh, he's dead, oh, he's dying, oh, this, that, and the other, and it's kind of just lazy, really. I mean, it's repetitive, it's lazy, and it's not funny. It's
not funny. Well, is there a joke to this? Is there a joke to the end of this? Does Medicare have cancer or not? And by the way, it's like, I was just drinking, enjoying, like just sitting on a stream, whatever, having a nice time, and he's like pressing me, and then at a certain point, you'll see this in the I'll let you know what happened here, because it's like behind the scenes a little bit. There was a point, I'm sure you could tell, that after this whole I don't care thing, there's a point where he starts talking, and then I'm not saying anything. You know what I was doing? Because you can't see me, since whoever was talking was on the main screen. I was doing this. I was laying back like this. I lay back like that, and I had like my drink in my hand. It was whiskey though. I'm like this. This was me. And he's like, right, and I'm like I didn't even want to talk. I don't want my face being on the screen. I want all right, have fun with this, buddy.
Yeah.
I'm not playing ball with this. So I'm just like this.
Yeah, just expressing indifference. Just
and
okay. Well, this is where you've led me, Mersh. I'm now horizontal. Great job.
Yeah, and everyone on the stream was just like, and then he also posted on the same stream. It's like, Baked Alaska raped Alice.
Oh yeah. That was real winning material there, Mersh. Good fucking job.
Imagine saying this. Even Alice and Baked were hanging out like a month later or something. Like I might be wrong about the timeline, but they were both like hanging out, and they're both like, what? No, yeah, she's like, you didn't rape me. We had sex. Like to him, sex is so crazy that it's always rape.
Yeah, and it's.
No.
I mean, it's one thing to just out of the blue just accuse someone of rape just as a kind of bit or whatever. That's one thing, but it's an entirely separate thing when you're doing it clearly with an agenda against somebody that you don't like, who has actually like punked you out in an IRL stream in a way that has embarrassed you to levels that no one on the internet should ever witness. So it's pretty crystal fucking clear, Mersh, that this whole like trying to wedge Baked Alaska into some rape accusation in like some Me Too fucking Karen. It's only compounding your own embarrassment.
And he's like going like Baked Alaska, he raped Alice, He's like looking at us like we're gonna be like, oh yeah, totally, dude. Like we're all like.
It's because no one was on the same level as him. It's exactly the same thing as Metika's got cancer, hasn't he, Andy? And it's like, you're not on our wavelength, Mersh. You're fucking out of your mind.
He was nuts. I think I'm the one who made him break on that stream at the end. It was Pat Dixon jumps in. Pat Dixon, he's a cool guy. I think he's a pretty funny guy.
I love Pat Dixon.
He's really funny, and me and him get along very well when I was doing that stuff with Ralph and stuff. And we're I'm like, oh yo, what up, Pat? I always think he's funny. And then like Mersh is like, Pat. And Mersh talks, and I'm like, oh no, here we go. So he goes, Pat, you remember me? And he's like, remind me? It's like it's Mersh. And it's like this uncomfortable, like come on, don't lie, you remember me. Yeah. Just like the same as the fucking text that girl to Kitty. It was like the same vibe. And then finally I had to just blurt out like, Mersh, He doesn't remember you. He's like, no one gives a fuck about who you are. And then Mersh leaves the fucking stream.
Yeah.
And fires up a stream about Pat Nixon.
I know. It's just again, it's the transparency of every single move he makes, and it's in its own predictability. It's hilarious. Because you know he is almost like you said earlier, how you know he's essentially the bull and you're the matador, and it's just he's so easily manipulable. Is that the word, manipulable?
Manipulable.
Manipulated. Let's use that instead.
You can manipulate him. Yeah. You can manipulate him very easily. Like with it's like straight up. You can say anything about him. You can say like
he always responds.
Walk weird.
Yeah.
You walk weird. Bones makes him. And then now like imagine this. He can't live in a world where the word bones
exists.
Makes him feel normal. Like the word bone. Anytime he hears the word bone, like bone in chicken wing. Pardon me. Like he can't. Like he's always
it gets a tingle up his spine, and he's like, "What?" And he's just Jesse just floods his brain.
Yeah,
that's hilarious. That's actually, you know what? For all the people that called the bone meme and the bone joke as kind of like a low effort whatever, there's a genius to it, in the sense that there's a word now with that's in common parlance that's used very regularly, that for Mersh will instantly trigger Jesse and will instantly trigger a negative. It's like Pavlovian conditioning, but with the word bone instead of an actual bone. It's like Pavlovian conditioning.
If he buys milk and it says like it has calcium for the bones, it like oh, fucking god, like it ruins his day. Like like he walks through like the fucking like the meat aisle.
Oh yeah,
like
boneless
the meat counter. He sees the word like bone. Like he doesn't buy. That's why he doesn't buy fresh meat, because there's bones everywhere.
Yeah, Halloween's ruined for him now forever.
Halloween, yeah. Like fucking kids they knock on his door and they have like a skeleton costume on. He's like, I'm gonna fuck. Oh, you're fucking A-logging me? You're trolling me? Like, the word.
Yeah, he immediately he sees like a kid in a fucking skeleton costume. He immediately fires up his stream and tells everyone he's being swatted.
You can't play Mario because the castle level, the skeleton guys. He's like, fuck no, they're A-logging me here on the Bowser level. Like everything, like that's what the bone thing is like. Yeah, people were saying like, oh, low effort. I'm like, is it low effort that whenever he accidentally uses the word bone, he's like this? It's like a guy who saw his ex at the mall. Yeah, but he's heard the word bone. And by the way, the word bone is used more often than I thought. Now that it's in your head, because I hear the word bone now and it makes me laugh. Like
yeah.
It's opposite for all of us, because for all of us we hear the word bone.
Because it's a funny word as well. Actually, you just hearing bone. It's like even going back to like Ken Bone. That's a funny name. Like bone is just a funny word, and so to now have bone as a funny word associated to a really funny lol cow, it's just like again, I don't know how deep into it Jesse thought, and I don't know if he had the foresight to realize that he's actually now infesting Mersh's own vocabulary and his ability to express himself at all times. I mean, if Jesse had that level of foresight, he might just be a fucking genius, because that again, it's just crazy funny shit. Like
I think Jesse knows. I think he does know, because Jesse, he understands what a true lolcow is, right? Because when I was like on my downfall, I remember it was something very prolific he said, because he never hated me or anything, but he would he'll take jabs here and there because it was my downfall or whatever. Right. I remember saying like, oh, I used to be a lolcow, but I'm trying to he's like, Andy, you were never a lolcow. You wanna know why? Like he's like, you were close to that status, but you were never there, because what makes a true lolcow is they never realize it. When you start realizing it and changing it, that's when you can't hit that level of. And Mersh will never realize it. Ethan Ralph will never realize it.
Yeah, if you ask Mersh straight up, if you ask him, have you ever exhibited behavior that would be described as lolcaldom, or would be described in a way similar to a lolcow, and his answer to you would be like, no, a lolcow's Christian, like I don't fuck my mom, or whatever other kind of excuse he likes to give himself.
Like, you have to rape your mom to be a lolcow.
Yeah, like he would stare you in the eyes in a very confusing manner. But he would stare you in the eyes and tell you that he was never a lolcow and that he's never exhibited behaviours of a lolcow, which is both patently false. And Ralph would do the exact same thing as well.
I'm a king. I'm a king. You don't even know I'm the Memphis Mauler Rafa male. Meanwhile, you're like a pig. You're a straight up pig. And that's what like with Mersh too. It's like when I fucked up and Medicare did that stream on me.
Yeah.
I was like, they're all right.
Yeah, I mean, you don't want to be, you don't want a Medica stream dedicated to you for sure.
But you know what though? I was saying this earlier. It's like a few weeks ago, that Medica stream, like, it was on Flamenco's stream when I was there. I said, you know, that Medica stream like was good for me because it was like bro, man, like you hit that level you should never hit.
It was like an adrenaline shot.
Yeah, it was like, yeah, exactly. And then I bought my ticket back home like a week later, but it was like mentally like I was off the internet. When I made it back, I was just off the internet. I came in slowly, only streamed like to 5 people, and slowly brought myself back up. And now our show's doing really well. The Kino Casino with PPP, and Kyler and I had a great run. The YouTube channel blew back up and blah blah blah, all that stuff. But like when people bash you at that level, like Mersh is hitting that level where like so many people are making fun of you that this should be like maybe there's something wrong with me and I should fix behavior. Like Ralph burnt every bridge he's ever done. Maybe I should fix his behavior. You know, like that's what a true lolcow is. And Jesse PS said that, and I was like, that is very, very true, actually.
Did you hear, by the way, that Rob Gavigan came in he subscribed to Jesse's $40 level tier last night?
Who's that?
Oh, he does a show with Royce, Dregworks, I think it's called, and but he's a YouTuber with like 3 million subscribers, really big channel, and he got in a lot of trouble recently for. I don't know the full details, but it's something to do with, I don't know, nudes in his DMs and stuff from fans, and like, you know, abusing his position of power, that old classic, you know. So
eye roll.
Yeah, so he went around the internet, you know, everybody made, you know, all the commentary community did their videos on him, and like the downfall of Rob Gavigan and all that.
Yeah.
But yeah, he was in he was in for a long time. Jesse did his show, and obviously he did the pod after show in his Discord, and yeah, Rob just swung by and was just in VC on cam for it must have been about 5-6 hours.
Wow.
Yeah,
that's great. And he had a show with Royce.
He's still got a show with Royce, Dregworks, I think it's called.
That must make Mersh very upset.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know, because I kind of dropped out. I had to go to bed, but but yeah. So I mean, Jesse was trying his best to get him to, you know, say this, that, and the other, and all that. But it was I just thought that was interesting that Rob Gavigan was knocking around.
That's brilliant.
So question number 6. Now this one's definitely good, and I will definitely. So Mersh had rather unashamedly created 2 separate GoFundMe pledge drives centered around a series of vehicular complications. The first, titled "Get Mersh a Car," saw him plead with his potential donors to help raise $1,500 for a reliable car in efforts to finally get his life in order. This was followed by a second GoFundMe titled "I Screwed Up," where Mersh had crashed the car whilst intoxicated.
Oh.
Who on earth would contribute to something like this, and how does he keep getting away with it?
So he had to GoFundMe saying, I need a car. Then a few months later, I fucked up. I need more money.
Well, I think it was about like a year or two later, but yeah, essentially that.
A year later. Wait, it doesn't matter. It's still insane. It's still insane. Wait, so was he doing ROTC at this time?
This was pre-ROTC.
Pre-ROTC?
This was during. This was the earlier times during kind of. He'd had a couple of sort of radio shows with Royce and Marie at the time.
He had a okay. That's okay. So okay, the question. Okay, I don't know what kind of human being would donate to, like, hey, like, first of all, I need a car. First of all, that's insane to me. Like, you know, like I need a car. Like, so. Like that, so but okay, fine, donate if you're a fan. All right, you want to support, but I fucked up and I need another car. That's insane to me. I don't get it. I don't get why people would donate to that behavior, because you know it's gonna happen again and again and again. How many cars, how many GoFundMes can someone do until you're like, you know what, I'm not gonna donate to this. That's kind of fucked. I didn't know about this. This is insane.
Well, I'm going to make it even worse for you. The first GoFundMe was created because he had a DUI and because he... So he actually had 2 DUIs. So, I mean, there's a post on his Facebook that preceded the first GoFundMe where he's talking about how he's finally got his license back, and... So I imagine that around about that point, he was realizing that having finally got his license back, having finally put the old DUI to bed, he's now, you know, let's get my life on track. Let's get myself a car, and let's put the financial burden of this onto my listeners, and let's not take any financial responsibility of the decision myself.
This is amazing. I've never heard of this in my life. So he had a DUI. Raises money to buy a car, which is already sketchy, and gets another. Take a fucking cab, bro. What are you doing? How does he do this? I don't even know if I should blame him or blame the people giving him the money, because like that's fucking crazy to me. I don't know what even to say about that. It's insane to me.
Well, let me make it even worse for you.
No, you can't make it worse. There's no way.
In the second GoFundMe, he didn't even bother to write a description. He just wrote, I think it was something like, you know the story, ... And that was it.
What?
And he just expected people to donate. He just expected people to give him money, because, and like, it's almost like he had like contempt for people to even like expect to read the GoFundMe description.
He just wrote, you know what's going on. Give me the. That's fucking insane to me. Imagine this. This is what I want you to imagine. All right, I want everyone to imagine this. Imagine being the guy that came in 6 months before the second GoFundMe, okay? 6 months. He's been watching him for 6 months. And then he sees a GoFundMe by this radio show he likes watching. And it just goes, you know what happened? And you're just like, what? Like, imagine the thoughts going through this guy who doesn't know what happened. That's amazing to me. Like, hey Mersh, I was just reading your GoFundMe. Imagine I can imagine the guy writing those emails. Tink, 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 dear Mersh. Tink, tink. Why does it say here? Why does it say here, you know the story? I don't know the story. And then he thinks they're A-logging him. He thinks they're fucking bashing him. Shut the fuck up, you piece of shit. You know what it is. You know, I'm a fucking alcoholic.
It could be someone who actually wants to donate, and then he just ends up banning them because he thinks they're an...
Yeah, no, I bet you that happened. I guarantee you that happened. This fucking guy, he didn't know the story. Yeah, right. Like, he just thinks everyone knows the story. I bet you... Wait, hang on. Did he... I would ask you, did he reach the goal on the second one?
I don't think he reached the goal on either of them.
Okay, well, that's amazing, because... Of course, you're not going to reach the goal. I'm just saying, you know the story. Especially if it's like a year apart. If it was like it would be crazier if it was like a month apart, but it would make more sense. You know the story because it just happened type thing. It's like a year later, like there's people who might have no idea what's happening here. I wish I could be a fly on the wall of that guy who's just like reading that, like it's just like a picture of a car. It's a picture of a car, and then he goes, "You know the story?" It's like, I mean, I like this guy, but do I donate? Like, what is? Am I like, what am I donating to?
You should, just put a picture of a car in the title. Give me this.
It's like the banner is a car, and he's just like.
Yeah, a third GoFundMe of just a car with the title PLZ ... Okay, do you want?
Yeah, that's good.
Do you want me to make it even worse?
You can't. Okay, no.
No, I'm kidding. I'm kidding. That's as bad as it gets. There were some very funny comments. There was a comment actually, a reply to one of his posts. Let's see if I can grab it. Here it is. So this was the first GoFundMe, just before the first GoFundMe, where he's had his DUI and he's telling people that I finally got my fucking license back, yay. And the third comment down, T-minus 6 hours until the DUI. So this guy has got foresight. This guy knows what's about to happen. And 2 years later, another DUI.
Oh my god. And like, imagine if I was in that situation and I had the DUI and I had the first like GoFundMe. The second DUI, I'd be like, I'm just not gonna tell anyone. Like, I'm gonna pretend like this never happened.
Oh, yeah.
I would pretend. That's fucking hilarious.
But
I'm like, okay, you know what? I'll try to raise my own money, I guess.
The worst thing is as well that you're dipping back in the same generous pond, the same people that had faith in you, the same people that were, because the first DUI, the sort of description in there was essentially a real feel good story of, look, I'm finally taking things serious. I'm finally grabbing life by the horns, and I'm really gonna. This car is going to be central to me getting everything back on track, and so the people that donated to that, clearly they were sold a story of redemption, of someone that's going to finally get everything back in the. But for him to then dip into that same pond after fucking up, after literally doing the exact same thing that put him in this problem in the first place, he goes and dips again. He double dips. Like, you can't double dip on a GoFundMe.
I think there's actually something worse in this whole situation. So in the first one, he's like, I'm gonna get my life together. I'm gonna make it. I'm gonna get a car here, guys, and I'm gonna, Not only did he double dip, but he didn't have the decency to go, look, guys, I fucked up. He wrote, you know the story. He was drunk while he made the GoFundMe. He was hammered. He's hammered. He's trying to write something, and he's like, no, you know the story. Like, there's no, I swear I'm gonna make it. I'm gonna make it work, guys. Thank you so much. Next one. Give me your fucking money, you fucking pieces of shit. Like, not even any humility. Like, listen, guys, I'm going to church now, I swear. Like, at least lie and say you're going to church now, Like, at least lie.
Yeah, he's the homeless guy that pesters you for bus money because he's got to go visit his sick grandma. Yeah. But like, you can imagine in the second one, the second double dip, you can imagine that he actually did type like half of a very kind of, like a preachy, sad, and then he just deleted it all and was just like, fuck it. And then he just wrote, you know the story.
Yeah. He actually thought about copying and pasting the first one.
Yes. Like,
he was like, oh, I could just use a thesaurus. I could just like highlight and right click and just use the thesaurus. And he did it and he went, I don't know. Like, he probably sat there like for like a day or two and trying to figure it out. He's like, I don't know what this, just, the story. And then, like 90% of people didn't know You know what I
Oh,
mean?
yeah.
Like 90% were like, what? Oh my god! And then he didn't even raise the money for the car. Just buy like work. Go to work like everybody else. What the fuck?
Well, we'll get to that.
I would have loved for him to make a third one.
Oh God,
I would have loved.
Well, technically he did.
Oh no,
but I mean, the Mersh and GoFundMe relationship is a very it's a long story. It's like Lord of the Rings saga. It's there's lots of it's a recurring character. Let's just say that GoFundMe is a recurring character in the Mersh saga. So question number 7. Shortly after the 2016 election, Mersh created something called Guns for Tards, a service in which the former comedian would, quote, trigger any SJW snowflake anonymously by mail for the small price of $7.99. This was facilitated in part courtesy of yet another failed GoFundMe, with more expensive tiers introduced to compensate for the lack of customer participation. Given the popularity of glitter bomb style pranks, why do you think Guns for Tards failed to take off? Now, just as a kind of preface to this, because you might not necessarily know what Guns for Tards is. So what they would do is, on your behalf, this is all during the 2016 election, just after that, with all the energy of the election, to trigger snowflakes, they would write on letterheaded paper, they would write a kind of... It was this kind of like donation-y kind of thing where they would basically send people letters saying that we're going to be donating guns to special needs kids on your behalf or something like that, and they would send them flyers and stuff with like handicapped people like holding guns and stuff. Essentially, libtards that don't like the Second Amendment. They're basically trying to troll them, and so for $7.99 a month, or for $7.99, they would essentially just send a letter to someone that you choose, just basically like with a picture of some disabled guy with a gun, just writing this long drawn out kind of. In fact, let me get you the actual letter because it's quite funny. Let's get rid of that. Mersh, Guns for Tards. Where are you? There it is. Do I have it? Surely I do. Oh, I can't even read that. Yeah, it doesn't necessarily matter actually what's on the letter, but it's like I said, it's essentially a letter-headed thing with Guns for Tards at the top, and
okay,
yeah, it's like it comes with a flyer with like a retarded guy with a gun.
So so to summarize, he was raising money or charging people to troll leftists. What they would do is send a fake letter.
Yeah.
To sort of like be like, for them to like basically open it and go, oh my God.
Yeah.
Now, okay, that's all good and well to try to troll, but you don't get to see anyone's reaction. You don't get to see it. There's no like, it's like you're just like, hey, you pay for it, you're like, this is gonna be good, and then like a week later you're like, I bet you that was good, I bet you that was good. Like it's got nothing. They probably, I guarantee you, I need a piece of paper for this. I'm just acting for you. This is the fucking this is the letter, right? Here's leftist opening it. Oh, it's just an that's what happened. That's exactly what happened. They fucking just threw it out. They thought it was a flyer, Well,
I mean, it was a flyer. That's exactly what it was.
Okay, yeah. Like pizza. What the fuck? That's retarded. Imagine being like, oh man, at least the glitter bomb. Like it's like, oh man, they had to vacuum and stuff. This is someone just cooked.
Yeah, no, you're exactly right, and the audacity
Maybe
to
they
charge
read it.
$7.99 for a letter to be printed and sent to somebody.
Just send it yourself. You know, like just do it yourself. It's like you could probably make it even crazier. Was it the same flyer?
Oh yeah, yeah. It was like a pre-written flyer for. They didn't customize anything. It was just a pre-written same thing. It was like a letter with a flyer, essentially.
You know, isn't like a prank? It is prank for like just regular people, not streamers. Because the glitter bomb, like the funny thing is that you send it to someone you hate or your friend or something, and you go, you phone them and you go, yo, buddy, man, right? That was crazy. Oh man, yeah, man. Or a streamer, you know, I've seen so many streamers like, you know, they're opening up their packages for, you know, if you see a cylinder, don't open it above, you know, carpet, you know, or you're fucked. But a letter, a flyer, it's not even a letter, a flyer. At least if it was like an envelope and it was like shiny, it was holographic, the person would be like, what the fuck is this? There's a flyer, that's insane. $7.99?
Yeah.
If anyone
God,
bought
yeah.
that, and by the way, I'm gonna tell you how this went, right? Royce, I'm gonna tell you this is gonna be a great prank. So he thinks of this, he writes it down, right? He's so excited for it. This is exactly what happened. They sold 12 of them.
Yeah, I mean, you probably.
It was like 12 probably.
Okay, so I've got a little. This is a little bit of promotional material that they put together for, and they posted this on their social media. They had a website, gunsfortards.com/shop, if you wanted to go there. I don't think it exists anymore, but this was their kind of like announcement. So it's trigger, all in caps, trigger any SJW snowflake anonymously by mail. And it says, prices have been reduced. You can now prank or trigger any SJW anonymously by mail for only $7.99. Your target will receive one of our professionally designed Guns for Tards thank you letters. The letter will thank them for their generous $75 donation to our fictional Guns for Tards charity and assure them that their money will be used to arm a mentally challenged person in their neighbourhood. This is sure to offend any Uber lib... with no sense of this is sure to offend any Uber lib with no sense of humour, and we do not share your information with the recipient. This is anonymous, safe and legal, and much less costly than a glitter bomb or a bag of dicks. Trigger a lib today and help us keep the success story going.
They did not say trigger a lib today.
They did. Trigger a lib today and help us keep the success story going. Our next round of mailers go out on Wednesday. Get your order in now. So, and this was if you listen to some of the old
my hair, the hair on my arm and my back of my head is standing up. Saying this, I'm not even kidding, dude. Shot of whiskey, dude. I have not drank today. I'm sick.
It's fucking ridiculous. I mean, it's a troll by mail service, they call it, where it's I don't understand. So it obviously didn't work. They tried to make a GoFundMe for it in order for people to select tiers. They could actually go for the $7.99 one, or they can go for $15 and get, you know, get two. They can get two troll letters sent out if they wanted to for $15. But yeah, essentially none of it worked. Their GoFundMe eventually got shut down because GoFundMe saw them basically do something with guns and thought, yeah, we don't want any part of that. They didn't quite get the, the elevated irony of it all. Yeah. Yeah.
They're probably like special needs children and guns. Like, are these guys insane? They're probably banned now from GoFundMe. They have to make more emails to sort of make new ones, you know?
It's probably like in the reason for ban, and it's just got the word cringe in it or something.
Gay.
Yeah. But yeah, Guns for Tards, I enjoy that.
I like how that wasn't even a question. That was like isn't he a retard? Isn't he retarded? Like, that's all it was. Like,
yeah. Like, that's what, honestly, that's what most of the... Because I wrote these questions out, and I write the kind of like the context of what the question
You're
is.
gonna get like,
And then I get
like how to set up for it, and then cut to all the interviews of us reacting to the situation.
But then I get to writing the question. I can't think of anything else, so I'm just constantly just trying to find a way to say like, isn't this funny? Isn't this ridiculous? Like Mersh did this and this and this. Isn't it wacky?
Trying to think outside the box, so that's why I was like, imagine being the dude who never knew like this first one existed. You know what I mean? I'm trying to think outside the box. So, the goosebump thing was real though, dude. Like, my God. I felt like a tingle, and I was like, man, I've never felt that cringe. That like, I was like, it was in my like, the cringe was in my chest, right?
Yeah,
and like, oh, and then the moment I touched my chest, I went, whoa, I'm fucking cringing. Like, I have goosebumps.
I'm usually impervious to cringe stuff. I'm usually the one that, like, because as long as I know someone else is cringing more than me, I enjoy their cringe, so I can kind of. But last night, reading those texts, those DMs, that's the most I've ever cringed, I think, in my entire.
That's amazing.
It was horrifying. But again, we will get to that. Let's go to question number 8. So question 8. In 2016, Mersh had started a petition, an online petition, to have Mike Cernovich deplatformed from social media for his, quote, abusive and predatory history with women. He then circulated this around his community, amassing a total of 1,118 signatures. As a so-called media insurgent who regularly complains of his own deplatforming whilst grandstanding at the censorial attitudes of big tech, does this represent a bit of a double standard? So let me give you a little bit more context, because you look quite confused there. So,
no, I understand, and I know what I want to say.
So,
but
let me just flesh it out a little bit.
So sure.
back in the day, Mersh and Royce, they both got into the Dan Schneider stuff pretty early. I think we spoke about this on the Iceberg. So they were both pretty quick on the Dan Schneider stuff, on the Nickelodeon Dan Schneider sexual accusation stuff, and it did really well for them. Their videos all exploded. They got hundreds of thousands of views across a lot of their videos, and so they really honed in on this paedophile stuff. They really honed in on, like, we're going to be the channel that unearths a lot of these kinds of things. And so they got a guy called Gabe Hoffman on their show, who Gabe Hoffman is a filmmaker who was making a film at the time called An Open Secret. Now, the film was basically exposing pedophilia in Hollywood. And so Gabe Hoffman came on the show. Gabe Hoffman saw what they were doing with Dan Schneider, and he liked it because obviously they were like crossing paths.
To expose it, yeah.
Yeah, so they were all, you know, getting quite cozy. You know, he was part of it. He was maybe the first Mersh effector, actually, thinking about it. So, but Gabe Hoffman is also a Jewish man. So that's going to factor in a bit. So anyway, Gabe, so
where this is going.
Gabe Hoffman ended up like doing something with Mike Cernovich. Like, I'll have to go back through my notes, but it doesn't necessarily matter right now. But he ended up working with Mike Cernovich to some degree, and cozying up to him on some project or other. Mersh didn't like this because Mersh, you know, he was going through that phase where, like, you know, fuck all you grifters, all you alt-right grift. You know, he was going through that kind of fuck Laura Loomer, fuck Jack Posobiec, fuck Mike Cernovich, and he was basically making the point to Gabe Hoffman, which is actually a relatively viable point, in that Mike Cernovich, he's a convicted rapist, or at least he's. I'm not going to. Well, that's Mersh speaking, not me, by the way. But Mersh saying Mike Cernovich is a convicted rapist. Why are you working with him when you're supposedly against, you know, sexual, you know, all that nonsense? And so that exploded into a massive fight. Gabe Hoffman was basically, you know, the very first guy to really kind of detach himself from Mersh very early on. And so Gabe Hoffman then, and Gabe Hoffman has some kind of like very good ties with like media people and all that. So Gabe Hoffman just went on a massive campaign of like calling Mersh an anti-Semite, and he found a video of Mersh basically like talking about how he hates the Jews and how like the Jews are all these evil people and that they're all insidious and that they're all underhanded and stuff. So Gabe was basically just tweeting this video out to everybody, calling Mersh anti-Semitic. He ended up getting Mersh's Twitter banned, and it ended up being like a really, really ugly thing. So then, almost in retaliation to that, I believe it was a kind of retaliation to that in a sense, and also just as a kind of like fuck you to Cernovich as well. Mersh then sort of just lashed out at Mike Cernovich and got his audience basically to all sign a petition where he just called him a rapist. And let me actually get the material, because that will actually help a little bit.
You mind if I grab a water real quick?
Yeah, you grab a water
right.
while I grab this.
All right,
so where is it? Here it is. Mike Shealy, Mersh, the media insurgent, the guy that's always talking about his own deplatforming, the guy that's always grandstanding about big tech, the guy who's the free speech warrior, the guy who called to task Matt Christiansen for not being against big tech censorship enough and not being free speech enough. The same Mersh wrote this about Mike Cernovich to Twitter. Mike Cernovich is a woman-abusing, former men's rights activist and creepy supplement shill who is constantly posting Pizzagate conspiracies and pro-Trump vitriol on Twitter. Recently, Mike Cernovich... Let me finish and then we'll... So, recently, Mike Cernovich used an internet lynch mob to get James Gunn fired from his job as director of Marvel's Guardians of the Galaxy, despite never having been the subject of any complaints by his co-workers or any children around him. So that's a bit of context that I was missing earlier, that this was seemingly in retaliation for the James Gunn thing. This is amusing considering that in 2003, Mike Cernovich was arrested by federal marshals for rape. After hiring a private investigation firm to influence the testimony of a witness, the alleged victim's best friend, Mike still wasn't confident enough that he would be exonerated and eventually took a plea bargain for battery. It's time for Mike Cernovich to live up to the new standards of internet behaviour that he himself has created. It's time to #ban Cernovich. And there's a lot more. Let's see. Cernovich and his group of followers indicted and ruined a man for political reasons based on the tweets he made in 2010. So essentially, he's trying to say that you now have to live by your own rules, yada yada yada, which is all fine. It's fine to call him out for it, and it's fine to expose him for being a hypocrite. But if you're then trying to rally a hashtag to ban him, trying to create a petition with over 1,000 people, 1,000 signatories of people all basically trying to deplatform him, then you're basically worse.
Yeah, that's the. Oh, and by the way, this is what the. It's hard to be a comedian nowadays, with the censorship and then okay, if Cernovich did that, how about call him out, do videos, do shows, expose him. For you to be the exact same, like start a hashtag, that's insanity. But that's the thing with Mersh, he'll say something, he never backs up his words at all. I mean, look at everything he's ever fucking done. He'll like pander to the right and then go like, oh, like fuck Trump, like 5 seconds later when Trump loses. You know what I mean? Like everything he ever does is grifting. He's a grifter. He's like the king grifter. He tries to figure out how do I manipulate my audience today. But that's retarded, because and that's not only the first time. Him the tink 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 and calling the cops or like emailing the cops on people who are making fun of him, making little jokes to get them basically banned or arrested. I don't know what he thought would happen actually with that. You know what I mean? I don't know what he thought about that. But that's, you know what? Like, that's not shocking to me. He did that. It's not shocking. Like, I'm never shocked now whenever I hear about something he did in his past or in the present, because I'm like, yeah, it's fucking Mersh. Of course he would do that.
I think it's also the disingenuous element to it as well, is that he didn't just keep it within the confines of what keeping it relevant to the James Gunn thing. It was that he was front loading it by talking about his Pizzagate conspiracy and pro-Trump and all that kind of stuff, essentially giving Twitter some key things there to ban him for, before then talking about what he wanted to talk about.
Well, let's mirror this to a more recent situation. Again, the Tink, the email, right? What did he front load that email with?
A little bit of the Christchurch.
Christchurch shooting.
Ding.
What? Yeah. What, do you guys like the Christchurch shooting? Of course you don't. They're part of it.
Hey, Feds, you ever heard of the Christchurch shooting? Wink, wink. Yeah, well, let me tell you a story.
Yeah, you can't just go against someone or whatever, or he has to always. These guys, they're down with the Christchurch shooting. I'm just gonna say that right now, and he
has to cover all bases, doesn't he?
Yeah, it's not only is he going to expose someone for something that might be decent to expose. It may be not the email, the Cernovich getting someone banned or deplatformed or whatever. Right?
And he's right about that. James, the Cernovich James Gunn thing. Yeah, let's say he's right about that. That doesn't justify what he did in the slightest.
He has the volley, they volleyed it right to him. All he has to do is jump and hit the ball down, smash it. And he just hits the net, and then it bounces back and it hits him in the face and he falls. He just somehow knows how to just fuck everything up. Because again, the expose on his show without the hashtag and try to get someone deplatformed would be perfect. It would be perfect. It would have worked. And he just has to nope. I'm not shocked though. Are you? Were you shocked when you heard about this? When you knew about this?
Oh no. I mean,
no.
Yeah, it's a repeated theme.
Yeah, and by the way, I'll even give you a personal say I make fun of Mersh, right? I'm on Jesse's show or something, or we're talking about him on my show. Whenever he brings me up, he's like, Andy Warski, the AIM guy, the guy who did drugs, the guy who went to, it's just well, he said this. He has to, every time he talks about it, seriously, look at any time, Baked Alaska, the one who raped, the guy who maced everyone, he front loads. That's actually a great thing I didn't even think about. This is actually, this question actually made me, is his MO is he front loads everything. That. Yeah. Everything has to be just a whole setup.
Yeah.
And then the punchline, he does what he should have done on stand-up instead of in punchline. But instead he front loads. And then it just makes everything just so stupid, holy shit.
But it's we can sort of veer off from there into another question, which wasn't the next question, but it's a related question in a sense, in that it's another example of that same thing, of the double standard. So Mersh enjoyed a drawn-out feud with Owen Benjamin, during which he encouraged a mass-flagging Discord campaign to deplatform the comedian. He gave the green light for his community to perform what he would describe as gay ops, and was potentially involved in some degree to having the CPS investigate Owen's family, which is unproven, but I'm just putting that out there. Anyway, so essentially what happened at this time is that Owen Benjamin flagged Mersh's channel, which, big no, don't do that. Yeah. And I think the reason why Owen Benjamin did it is that I think he's just retarded, and he's not clued into the internet. He has no idea what's going on in IBS circles where flagging was a hot topic at one point. He just saw the flag button and he was like, well, why wouldn't I? And
screw this guy, yeah.
So that's not to cover for him or say that what he did wasn't wrong, which it was. But I think that was his thought process at the very least. Now, what Mersh did,
like a boomer, he didn't.
Yeah, like a boomer. It was a boomer moment. Yeah. Now, what Mersh did initially was the right thing. He had a show with on Revenge of the Cis, Royce there, Mersh there, and they're both covering the video where Owen Benjamin talks about flagging them. And Royce says that, look, he gives a warning to his fans. He's like, look, the last thing we want you to do is to retaliate. Do not do anything. Do not flag. Do not retaliate. No gay ops. We don't do that. We're above that. The best thing we can do is let the internet sort this problem out. And Mersh agreed and repeated everything he said. Mersh said that the way we approach this is that we leave it for the internet to right the wrong, and we no gay ops, no mass flagging, none of that. And then cut to Nightwave, cut to a few drinks later, and Mersh is saying, and I've got this on video, so it's there, and he's saying, and he's doing one of his kind of like, those streams where he thinks he's talking directly to the person who's not there, and he's like, Owen, up until now, we've just been using you for content, we've been milking you for lols. I've put my community under strict conditions, not to fuck with you, no gay ops, no flagging, none of that. At this moment, I'm lifting those restrictions. Have at it, everyone. And he's basically giving his fans the green light to perform gay ops and all that kind of stuff. So my question there is, has Mersh become the very thing he mocked Owen for?
Yes, of course. He was always that guy, though. I bet you in his head when Royce said that, like, Mersh was like, yeah, don't do that. Mm-hmm. And then he's just like stewing in his brain the whole time. I bet you he was like distracted for the rest of the show. Like, you know what? But here's the thing, I would ask you, what did Royce do after that?
Nothing. Royce never does anything. I'm sure Royce might have spoke to him, but he never does. It's what Jesse says, that Royce is the enabler, organ grinder, and his monkey's loose, and he can't. He's got no control of his monkey while he's grinding the organ. And that's the best description of him. And I'm not attacking Royce or anything, because he's not the focus of any of this.
Yeah. I was just curious because I was gonna say, like, I feel like fucking Mersh is like the toddler, like running through like the house, and he's like and Royce is the guy behind him with the mop, like, oh my god, because the kid is just spilling everything. Yeah, it's like spilling this drink everywhere and everything is destroyed, and fucking Royce in the fucking like just like mopping everything that he does, like, oh my, like, he's just like, oh my fuck.
Yeah, he has to like baby proof his house and put fucking foam on the corners and everything, because Mersh is just running riot.
Foam on the corner. He's foam on the corners, and he looks over and Mersh is just like holding a vase over his head and just throws. He's like, oh my god. Like, that's how I picture Royce. And then at a certain point, Royce is just like, I don't know what to do.
I understand. Like, Royce is in a very helpless situation, and I'm sure there's been moments where Royce has, called Mersh on some things here and there. But at some point, you kind of have to be responsible for a guy that's on your show, for a guy that's your business partner, for some of the stuff that he's doing that is essentially really going against the grain of your own principles. At some point, you've got to do a little bit more than just have a quiet word with him off air. Like, that's not enough. That's nowhere near enough, because you've like right, Jesse said, your monkey's running riot and you're still there grinding the organ like nothing's happening.
He needs to, like, well, first of all, like, to answer your first question, like, Mersh is, here's the thing is, he doesn't believe anything he says. He says whatever he thinks the audience will like at that time, and it doesn't matter. There's no, he tries to act like everything, that he has principles, like, oh, don't dox, don't flag, don't do this, don't do that. Oh, we're being censored, and he does it all. He does everything. There's no principles. There's nothing in his mind at all. It's just like, it's all very reactionary. It's very like, just like, what's on my mind. There's no voice in his head. He has no conscience he has no conscience that goes, hey, that might be a bad idea. Like, he has none of that. You know, like the angel and the devil, it's nothing. It's just whatever is happening, whatever fucking neurons in his brain are firing up, he does. He gets mad, he flips out. And he goes, oh yeah, fucking flag and blah, blah, blah. Yeah, I'm gonna tink, 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 tink. Like, I'm gonna fucking call the police, whatever. And then he goes, even with that, he goes, I would never do that. That's terrible. He's trying to act like he has principles. He would never do that. He would never do that. And then a year later, when it's fucking caught, he goes, of course I did that, and I'll do it again. And you're like, it's nothing. There's no consistency to anything he does. Him getting people banned and flagged, all that shit, he doesn't care. And the Owen Benjamin thing, that was just like, and then I even have to like think in my head, you know, I gave him like a few chances when I heard that stuff before. I'm like, everyone fucks up, right? You know, everyone fucks up, you know. I'm sure you did the same thing where you're like, oh, you know, whatever. Hopefully he's learned his lesson. And he never fucking does. And at a certain point, you have to look at not only Royce, but the audience and go, do you guys even know what you're here for? Do you, like, you try to like, rah, yeah, free speech, blah, blah, blah. You know, like, you're just like sucking up whatever you want to hear from his voice, like what he's saying, because you want that biased opinion, and then he's behind the scenes not doing any of it. He flips, flops, what's popular today, this, that. There's no consistency. People always change their point of view, right? Like, I've gone from like liberal to more of a far right to more of like, not centrist, more conservative, but not like some of the very far right stuff. I'm like, yo, chill the fuck out. You know what I mean? Like, but it's everyone, when you change your perspective on something, right? It should be a gradual change. And like, he's like left, right, this, that, like, don't flag. There's no, you know what? I used to be against this, but over like the last year, this, you know, and you slowly gradually move into a certain, and that example you just said was like the same day. Yeah, you're right. Yeah. Don't do that. And the same fucking day.
Well, I don't think it was the same day. I think it was within the same time frame. And I think but that doesn't matter because, you know, your principles shouldn't have shifted to that degree, but just to flesh it out.
5 years later, if it was like a 5 year later thing, like he goes like, don't flag people, then 5 years later he's turned into like a super leftist over time, and finally he's like, you know what, we need to stop these Nazis and we have to dox them or something, and be like, well, he's still a piece of shit, but at least you saw the transition and you understand where the downfall of this, like. But
just to add one slight little bit of context that's just popped in my head right now, that the Nightwave episode where he gave the green light to his fans to mass flag and report, he did so specifically, partly because of the kind of, you know, after effects of Mersh flagging him and refusing to lift the strikes, which meant obviously Mersh couldn't make any money, and that's the way that Mersh gets really upset, is if you fuck with his money, which is fair enough. I agree.
Yeah. Normal. Yeah.
But it was also as well that Owen Benjamin called Mersh's dead mother a whore on his show, and that sent Mersh spiraling. That sent Mersh really. He did not like that. I'm just remembering now during that stream, he was like, "You called my dead mother a whore," and
gloves are off.
Yeah.
All my principles are down the drain. And it's a spiral. Yeah.
And this was around the same time as well, where I was invited into a Discord channel, and this is something Mersh denies. And I've managed to get about probably about 2 former mods to corroborate this, including one former mod who remembers it very vividly and agrees with everything I've said. He invited me to a private channel on his Discord. It was a channel that was restricted to certain roles or certain individuals that he included in this channel. And I remember that Ghost House was one of the main mods in this channel that was essentially doing his dirty work. And the goal of it was to get Owen deplatformed and to just come up with any gay op that could ruin him and that could demonetize him and basically strip him of his show, strip him of his channel, strip him of his income. And at the time, I was invited there. I saw what was going on. I saw what was happening. I said in the chat that it was a bad idea, and then I went into Mersh's DMs and I told him, I pleaded with him. I was like, Mersh, this is a really stupid idea. You do not want to be doing this. And his reply at the time was something like, and I am paraphrasing because it was years ago, and it was something like, what am I supposed to do, Porcelain? Let him get away with it, yada yada. He's fucking with my income. He's fucking with this, that, and the other. It was something like that. But I think eventually, I ended up leaving that group because I didn't want any part of it. And I think, from what I've heard from other people that were still there, apparently he got talked off the ledge. But the damage was basically already done. The strikes were already given to Owen, and Owen's YouTube channel. Owen's YouTube channel disappeared. Now it's not. I don't know whether or not Mersh was the direct reason for Owen's channel going. But it might not have been. Owen at the time was really going off, and he was causing a big problem for himself. But I don't think Mersh helped, and I'm pretty sure that some significant amount of quote gay ops did occur at the hands of Mersh and some of his top moderators. So again, the question was, has Mersh become the very thing he mocked Owen for? And I think we've both come to the conclusion that yes, he has become that.
I would say even worse, in my opinion. I would say he's become worse than what he mocked Owen Benjamin, or like what he criticized Owen Benjamin for. He's worse because Owen Benjamin, we could like go, he was boomer. He doesn't know about what gay ops. Like he just thinks, oh, flagging. Yeah, fuck this guy. I'm gonna flag him. And Mersh knew what the community thought of flagging and gay ops. You know what I mean? So it makes it actually worse than Owen Benjamin by like a long shot, because you should know, right? There's ways to retaliate, like doing shows, maybe monetize the fact that you're bashing him. It's easy to milk that, right? But no, he has to stoop to a level beyond what he's dissing. Like, you know what I mean? It's
You're
retarded.
Right. Yeah, 100%.
Yeah.
Right, let's move on to something involving yours truly and Styx, X and Hammer. So Mersh had at one point accused Styx, X and Hammer in a roundabout way of being a pedophile based on his interaction with fans, particularly in the comment sections of his videos. Mersh was then invited onto the Morning Kumite, an internet radio show centered around something called Bloodsports, only to be angrily confronted by the likes of Andy Warski, Mr. Metica, and Styx, X and Hammer himself. This resulted in Mersh having to sing Happy Birthday to the man he had seemingly falsely accused in an incredibly humbling scene. What can you tell me about Mersh's overall psychology during this escapade? Was he hoping the revelation would somehow see him and Royce anointed by his so-called internet superiors? And how much reputational damage did the spectacle do to Mersh? Okay,
so I think that he realized that he fucked up at that point, right? So during that episode when Styx came on and we realized that he was being an idiot, and then he sang the happy birthday, what was going through his mind was, maybe there's a way we could salvage this, okay? Maybe they'll respect us for doing this. And obviously it was the complete opposite effect. It was like oh, Jesus Christ, this is terrible. I think that was, in his mind, he'll do whatever it takes to climb the ladder, right? If he had to fucking go on his knees and suck the balls of a guy to get an extra 1,000 viewers on the show, he would be on his knees before the guy even asked, right? So he realized, oh shit, Medicare, Warski, the Kumite in general, right? Which was big at the time. It's like, maybe there's a way, we can apologize, we'll sing happy birthday, they'll invite us back in, where we'll be. And then I think when he lashed out right after, when he realized we're all like, fuck that guy, that's when he turned. He's just, the happy birthday, it wasn't because he actually felt bad or thought that like Styx was innocent or whatever. He was just doing whatever it took. He's getting on his knees and sucking them balls. That's what he does, right? And I think now the reason he's way more cocky and he's way more egregious with what he does and less apologetic is because he does have an audience that pays him on Patreon. He does have an audience that donates, right? At that time, not so much. So it's suck them balls, lick that, do whatever it takes to make that buck, even if it's to fucking embarrass yourself in front of like thousands of people. But now, because he has an audience that pays him, well, I still could pay my rent, so I'm not gonna apologize. That's why he didn't apologize. If he was at his level that he was back then, during the, like, we all found out he called the police on people, he would be doing the exact same thing. He'd be singing happy birthday to Porcelain. He'd be singing happy birthday to Jesse P.S. You know what I mean? Like, he'd be like, oh, happy birthday, pot awful. But that's why. It's all about climbing that ladder. And to him, he's making his money. He doesn't need to like say happy birthday. Back then, I'll do anything it takes.
Perfect.
That was the mentality, dude. I'm telling you. And we all smelled that desperation like from a mile away, you know? And there's times, by the way, that you should be humbled and sort of go like, I was wrong or whatever. But Medicare has this thing that I'm pretty sure it was Medicare who got him to do it, right? Medicare, I think, was the same one who got to get Mundane Matt to call himself a soy-filled bitch or whatever. You know what I mean? Like, you should be humbled. You know, you should be humble and go like, I fucked up or whatever and blah, 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 blah. But like Medicare threw in the extra, like, sing happy birthday. I'm pretty sure it was Medicare. I might be wrong though. But that sounds like a Medicare thing to do. And I think Jim, Mersh to Jim, like he looked up to Jim so much to the point where he's like, "Oh yeah, I'll sing happy birthday. What else, sir? I'll tap dance." He's like tap dancing for Jim, you know, to hope he gets a little bit of that clout. So that's what it is, yeah.
Perfect. I think you've answered that question. So number 11. I'm sorry for keeping you, by the way. There are a few more, but
hang on, I'm gonna write put Ashton and just go hang on. I'll be a little bit longer, but I'll call you when I'm done. All right.
Yeah, I think I'll just sort of go through them all in one, really. So question number 11. So I don't know how much of this you're aware of, but the Matt Christiansen stream, the Matt Christiansen debate. So question 11, the Matt Christiansen dispute was ignited with Mersh accusing the political YouTuber of acting as a conservative gatekeeper whilst not defending the likes of Chris Cantwell or Andrew Anglin when it came to tech censorship. After Matt agreed to discuss the issue on Revenge of the Cis, Mersh reverted to underhanded insults, baseless accusations, and a series of hypocritical double standards, such as criticising a man who voluntarily left the payment platform on principle that Mersh himself currently uses in Patreon. With this in mind, why do you think Mersh's base impulse was to attempt to shame Matt Christiansen using a benchmark of free speech that he can't even reach himself? So again, just to flesh this out slightly, one of the big issues in the Matt Christiansen debate, and one of the areas where Matt Christiansen did quite well, is that he pointed out that Mersh and Royce both use Patreon, which is a tech platform that is really poor on free speech. It bans a lot of users for their speech outside of Patreon. Matt Christiansen, on the other hand, he had a Patreon and he left it voluntarily because he didn't like the free speech rules. So that gave Matt Christiansen the upper hand. Mersh wanted Matt Christiansen to he basically did a stream the night before or the day before or whatever. He was on a Revenge of the Cis episode where Royce wasn't doing it, but Mersh was accusing Matt Christiansen of essentially talking the talk with free speech. But you're not a free speech guy unless you're willing to defend Chris Cantwell and Andrew Anglin, and you're willing to goose step and Hitler salute and all this. Like you're basically purity spiral. Like he's expecting Matt Christiansen to purity, and Matt Christiansen quite excellently in the debate that he had with them, he pointed out that, well, you guys are in bed with big tech. You guys are in bed. All your payment stuff goes through the same companies that fuck everybody on free speech. So who are you to say? And also, Mersh, this is Matt Christiansen speaking. What are you doing to defend Andrew Anglin and Chris Cantwell? Why don't you have them on? Why don't you have Nick Fuentes on? And so it was a really, I mean, I don't know if you've actually seen the
I have.
Oh, you have? Yeah. Okay, well, that's actually saved me a lot of trouble then. So
yeah, no, I see that,
yeah. So again, the question being, why do you think Mersh's base impulse was to try and shame Matt Christiansen using a benchmark of free speech that he doesn't reach himself?
Because it all comes back to the grifting, where, okay, I got all these right wingers. What would they want to hear me say? Well, like, what do they want me? They want me to hear, like, why aren't you having Andrew Anglin on your show? It's the same fucking bullshit. And then he, again, can never back up what he is preaching because he doesn't believe anything. There's nothing he believes. What do they want to hear right now? And that, also, you could be for free speech, but not want to have someone on your show. You know what I mean? It's not like, Mersh wants me to have him on. Like, how about I don't want to? How about you do it? And he can never do it. He can never back up anything he says, ever. I cannot find one example of him. Okay, there's probably a few, but there's not many. An example of him accusing someone of something, but doing the thing that he's saying that what they should do. It's very few and far between. Unless it's like rape or something, something like crazy, like don't be a pedophile or something, right?
Well, I wouldn't put that past him, to be fair. Just to extend the question a little bit as well, because there is also a really juicy part of the Matt Christiansen stream where Matt talks about his audience, how that he's got a bigger audience or something like that, and immediately Mersh and Royce burst out of their chairs screaming, you're big dogging us, all you care about is subs, and basically doing the big subs Matt Christiansen thing and trying to essentially attack him for trying to big dog them. Now, again, we're talking about projection. What does Mersh constantly do with, let's say, for example, Jesse Podawful? Big dick daddy, big subs, Mersh, big... you don't get any of my viewers, I get... Again, so we were talking incredible projection here.
Okay, with the Jesse PS, he does that. He'll always go like, well, I got more subs than Jesse PS. Oh, Andy Warski, we're bigger than Andy Warski now. Or he'll go, like the funniest example, in my opinion, was during the 24-hour stream, during the whole Medicare debacle we were talking about earlier. He was talking, he's talking about his show at one point, and then he literally mutters, we're making about $15,000 a month, but and then he moved. Like, did you just slip in how much you make a month in between your sentence? Like no one gives a fuck. You don't know how much anyone else here is making. Some people are making more than you. You know what I mean? And no one cares. It's not like, oh, Mersh makes more money than me. But look at you, Mersh. Look at you. Like, there are homeless people who have more dignity than you, dude. Shut your fucking mouth. You're always depressed. You're always meant. He has to always, I have more subs than Jesse PS. Jesse has a wife. He has a show with great production. He's got like a great fan base. He's funny. He's funnier. He doesn't cry. He's not a lolcow. Like, there's so much more than the whole. And by the way, this whole sub thing, do we know that these are all real viewers?
Well, we know that they're not. Is the
we
thing.
We know for a fact that
he's admitted that he fake it until you make it. As that's directly what he says.
He, like, you could go into one of his streams. I think a friend of mine went into one of his streams, and you could see like 2,000 watching or whatever, 3,000 watching, and you can always click the 3 dots. For anyone watching this,
participants.
If you're interested, wait till an ROTC episode starts and check the participants. When there's like 1,500, 2,000 watching, and you've got 110 participants, that's kind of fucked.
Well, there's somebody's been clipping some side-by-side screenshots of Jesse's show with numbers of views in the hundreds, maybe 400 or 500 viewers, and then comments where it's maybe 25 comments, for example. Then they'll show Mersh's one where it's like 4,000 views, 12 comments.
Yeah.
So either his audience doesn't even want to engage with the show, or that a lot of those viewers are
yeah,
botted.
I'm sure 1,000 people are like not chatting, you know. Here's what you could do. If you want
we don't even need to debate it, because Mersh and Royce have both admitted that they have done this, and my view on this is, if you've done it once, you're still doing it.
You could take the participants, but also take the chats and put them side by side and look at the speed.
Oh yeah,
It's like a race, you know what I mean? Now there are people who spam or whatever, who comment more, but it's just obvious, dude. It's completely obvious. Now I'm not saying he doesn't have an audience. He obviously does.
Of course.
I'm not gonna say that, but he acts like he's way bigger than he is by using these numbers. The numbers don't matter, you know. Like, I forgot who said it. It was JF, my old co-host from Warski Live. It doesn't matter how many people are watching you. It's how many people are supporting you in the end, right? You could have like 1,000 viewers, but if you're making like $10 compared to a guy who has 100 viewers and it makes $1,000, you know, it's fishy. You know what I mean? Like,
but I will give Mersh
dissect.
I will give Mersh his dues on this, that like clearly he does make money. He makes a good amount of money. Revenge of the Sith makes a lot of money. The Patreon makes a decent amount. And you see on his donations, his nightly donations, that he does make money. So I'm not going to attack him on that.
Exactly. Yeah.
I know that he does bot the viewers. The difficulty I have though is like you said, I think that
the big dogging.
The big dogging, and he's big dogging in a way that, where it's almost like he thinks he's arrived, and the guy hasn't broke 50,000 subscribers yet. And I know subscribers are relatively meaningless, but it's just, I've never seen a somebody with a small, and don't get me wrong, you can have a fantastic community and it still be relatively small, but someone with that smaller community to talk about their fame and talk about their, I mean, he on the Martina Marcota's election stream, where he calls into her show and she basically doesn't want to talk to him, and he's telling her that I'm the most famous I've ever been. He's saying that totally unironically to Martina Marcota in a way to try and get her to see him as some kind of big shot. Because he knows, by the way, and he knows that that's the only way that he gets laid, is that he has fans that look up to him as a celebrity, as a famous person, and he drains every little sap of that. And again, it's just confusing because I've never seen somebody with such a small reach act in this manner. And then also, not only does he act in this manner, and not only does he swing his 4-inch dick around the internet like it weighs a ton. Not only does he do that, but then as soon as a bigger streamer like Matt Christiansen comes along and slightly does that, they're clutching their pearls and yelling at him for doing it, and it's the most Jewish mentality I've ever seen. It really is so fucking ridiculous.
It really is. Okay, because it's like, so the Martina Marcota thing, when he does that, like in his mind, it's all projection, right? Like in his mind, like with the whole like Styx and Kumite section part that you had, it's in his mind, like if someone's bigger than you, like you're gonna suck up to them. You're gonna do whatever you like whatever they want, whatever they say. So in his mind, when he's like, he thinks he has all these subs and viewers, he thinks that everyone thinks like that. He thinks that everyone's like, oh my God, you have. No one cares. No one cares.
Right.
And the whole big dogging with like Matt thing, it's the exact same thing with everything else that he's done. He doesn't have any principles. He doesn't believe anything. In his mind, he's like, oh, like you're big dogging me, and then when he big dogs, it's like it doesn't matter. When he goes, free speech, or then tries to get people deplatformed, is everything he talks about is wrong. Like, or not wrong, but everything he talks about, he doesn't do. He never backs up anything he says. I'm not shocked that like he did that with the whole like Matt thing.
Oh, yeah.
He'll go after, so he'll be like, for example, with me and Jesse PS, right? So I was trying to be cool with Mersh for a long time, and it was like every few weeks, I'd have a clip sent to me of him shitting on me, or like saying like something like backhanded, like, I like Andy, but he was a piece of shit here, and I'm like, it would do it over and over and over and over, and I just go on Jesse's show one time and laugh at his walk, and he loses his fucking mind. And he's a backstabbing. You talk shit about me. He doesn't back anything he says up. He'll do it. He'll fucking accuse you of doing something and then do it the next day.
Oh yeah.
He doesn't care. He doesn't care. And then when you call him out on it, he doesn't acknowledge it. In his mind, he doesn't go, I was being a hypocrite there. Yeah, I'm being there's no humbleness there.
Well, it's like you said, there's actually no acknowledgement of it. It's almost, he'll find a way of deflecting, or he'll dismiss it passively, and or his favorite thing whenever he's faced with a double standard, or whenever he's faced with a moment where he's clearly projecting, or something that he's accused someone of that he's actually guilty of himself. It's always the same deflections. It's unrelated insults, and just a complete change of the story, or so. He's done it with me a number of times. I've seen him do it with plenty of other people as well. It's just this real lack of acknowledgement of and I mean, I understand it to a degree. If I was faced, if I'm Mersh, and if I was faced with my own hypocrisies from a group of people that in my head hate me, then it would be very difficult for me to digest that. It would be very difficult for me to really take stock of myself and to be like, oh my God, they might be right, because that's because these people in my head, there's vitriol there, there's personal animus, and there's also years worth of some kind of like internet battle that I've built up in my own head, where I simply cannot lose. If I lose this, then I lose everything. And so I understand it to some degree from as far as his psychology goes, but I just think that if you're trying to survive on the internet without the basic humility and an acknowledgement of when you do misstep, or when you do, even if it comes from the most toxic area that you do not want to confront, if you try and survive off the internet without that, I think you're heading towards Tonkasaw territory.
Yeah. There's no self-reflection. That's the thing. There's no self-reflection. There's no...
Well, he's a gay vampire. I mean...
Yeah. No self-reflection.
Yeah. All right, let's move on to because I think we've got that pretty much in the bag. So we'll move on to something a bit more light, a bit more fun, and Mersh's BMW. So against the vehement advice of his co-host Royce, Mersh bought himself an incredibly old BMW with 120,000 miles on the clock, having subsequently spent a small fortune simply keeping this money pit on the road. What do you think he was thinking buying this thing?
In his mind, he's like, BMW. You know, like he remembers like the days back in high school where people go, I have a Beamer. My dad has a Beamer. So he goes, BMW, you know, people are going to look up to me. Mersh, he's not a loser. He has a BMW. And then as every week, as you see every week in the shop, waiting for them to fix the engine. Oh, they're fixing this, they're fixing that. It's just like absolutely, in his mind, the name BMW surpasses what the car actually is. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
He's the kind of guy. He's the kind of guy who, if like, he'd get a Gucci bag, but it's like ripped up, it's torn, it's been pissed on. He found it, you know? He found it on the street, but he's like, but it says Gucci on it, so, you know, people look up to Gucci, don't they? You know?
I've actually got a similar story, just to open the world up to some of my own. When I was a kid, like I grew up in a really poor, impoverished area, a very poor part of the West Midlands, and I didn't get the best branded stuff as a kid at school, and obviously when you're a kid at school and you're not rocking around in the at some point I did, because my family situation changed for the better very significantly at some point in my childhood, but before then it was, you know, pretty dire. And you know, so I remember we went to like a car boot one day, and my dad took us, and we, you know, it was just one of them like Sunday morning things to do, like basically they're like garage sales but like on a big field. And so I'm kind of going around, and I see these really tattered, like just barely stitched together old pair of like Nikes, and they're like super cheap, obviously, because they look like homeless shoes. But I'm looking at them and I'm just seeing Nike, and I'm like, I've been wearing high tech for years. Yeah. And I'm like begging my dad, can I please get these Nikes? Can I please get them? And he knew, he had the foresight to realize that if I turned up to school wearing a homeless person's Nikes, that would be far worse for me than keeping my my brand new but not necessarily flamboyant pair of fucking Asics or high tech or something. Yeah. And so exactly he kind of had to sit me down and give me a little early life lesson of like, look, brands, you know, it's not all that, you know, it's all about the, you know, and sort of like really trying to get me to realize my own humility to some degree. And I was too young to really fully understand it, but it's very similar to Mersh and the BMW of kind of like, Mersh has lived his life always, you know, never been able to afford the luxury things. He's always been, you know, sofa surfing or living in old cars. At one point, as we discovered earlier, he couldn't even raise $1,500 for a shit car. Now he has the opportunity of a lifetime to realize his childhood and young adult ambitions of owning a BMW. But the only way he can accomplish that is if he really takes a hit on the quality and the age of the vehicle. And we all know the issues with BMWs. They are perpetual money pits, and they cost an absolute fortune. But for Mersh, it doesn't matter, because in his head, he's just redeeming all of the, all of the childhood angst of poverty. It's in his head. That's all fixed because he now has a BMW.
I think there's something like, okay, so yeah, in his mind, it's the name brand, but there's something even like that just blows me away Like it blows my mind that he does. Okay. Why every time you need it fixed, do you have to tell people? Is there like someone who's gonna like see it on Twitter and go, oh man, this guy's getting his car fixed, I'm gonna follow him? No one. People are just going, his fans are like, dude, stop telling people you're fixing the Beamer. Like, I'm gonna be at the shop today. Like, lie. I'm going to the dentist, which we know is not true. But lie. Just say something. Just say
Mersh
something.
is not going to the dentist, Andy. I don't know. I don't have to tell you that.
Because the thing is, there's like this thing. I mean, maybe I'm guilty of it too in my past, being like way too open about like personal stuff, and I've stopped that completely. Right? Very, very. People. You have to understand. You don't have to tell everyone everything.
Well, okay.
So especially everyone makes fun of you for the Beamer. Just be like, no, it works amazing. Every day, like you're at the shop going, man, I'm riding around, this thing rules. Like, just like, why do you have to tell them like, yeah, it broke down again? That's not helping your business. It's not helping like the jokes about it being broken, Like it's crazy.
Well, no. Okay, so I have to step in here because I've seen this pattern too many times now to know exactly what's happening. Whenever Mersh tweets about an expense, about anything in his life that needs money, so we're talking about his cat needs vet bills, his BMW needs repair, anything like that. And I've spotted this, and it's a phenomenon that happens. It's as reliable as a sundial. It really, it's basically any time he mentions that his BMW needs some form of repairs, his super chats flood in with, here's to the BMW fund, here's to the cat fund, here's to the thingy fund, here's to this fund, here's to that fund, and he gets a significant uptick in donations because people want to be part of his journey. People want to attach themselves to the ongoing the ongoing success journey of Mike Shealy, and if they can donate to his BMW, it's almost like I own a bit of that BMW, and that BMW, I'm part of that story, and it's so fucking frustrating and infuriating because it's a barefaced grift. It's a grift. It's 100% a grift.
So you know what? I can't even. Can you blame the guy for doing that? He goes, oh, I bet you he'll lie about his car being broken now. He's like, oh yeah, I need some super chats today. Yeah, bringing it into the shop today. Honestly,
no, he did it with the mixer when he would be dangling this new mixer that he was spending a year to try and buy. Now I'm a graduate at De Montfort University. I've studied audio and recording technology, so I know mixers inside out. I know audio inside out. To get a mixer to do what he wants to do costs next to nothing. You can get a Behringer Xenix for $60. It doesn't cost a lot of money. You can get the most basic audio, one channel audio interface for. I think Behringer do one for $40. It's so inexpensive.
Or you can get a Shure USB, fucking plug it into your computer.
Yeah, you don't even need. You get USB mics with fucking preamps built into them. So Mersh was dangling this new mixer as part of his studio in front of his audience for a whole year. And people were donating to the Mixer Fund, and he does this all the time, especially when it comes to studio-based stuff, because he assumes that his audience are not savvy when it comes to the technical side of doing the show. I think a lot of his fans assume that there's a massive audio visual setup that isn't simply a Logitech C920 webcam.
Is that what I have? I think that's what I have.
It's what everybody has. It's a good 1080p good webcam. and it's cheap. It's good for the price.
Yeah, but I'm not like guys. I need the new camera. Like I need it's $80 on Amazon. Shipped the next day to your.
But it's exactly why as well with the 375, the original 375 with Red Bar, when Mersh said on that stream that all I need about 375 for everything that I've planned, and he's like, I've planned it all out in my head. And I just need that 375. And Mersh will say that, oh, no, I was just budgeting out loud, And it's like, well, you don't need to vocalize that to your audience. The reason you are vocalizing it to your audience is that so that you can encourage them to help contribute towards your equipment. Now, this is equipment that he should be spending from his own money. He should be investing his own money into his show. That's the whole fucking point. But yeah, so it's just a little. I mean, it's a minute pet peeve of mine, and it's just an extension of his ongoing grift, really.
It's the constant like, by the way, my cat's sick. The vet bill it costs around $200, and someone's like, oh, the cat. I'll invest in the cat. I don't want a cat to die for Mersh's cat, the one that he stole.
Yeah,
that's a stolen cat, by the way. I'm gonna tell you right now, that cat that's not a legal cat. That's an illegal cat in his house. There's a child up there who's like, I miss Mittens, and Merch is like, hey, what's up? And he doesn't even feed it cat food. He feeds it like the rest of his food that he doesn't.
Yeah,
finish.
Like pizza and McDonald's and Taco Bell.
Cat's gonna live like only 3 years.
Yeah,
like this intestinal issues.
Well, in a year's time, the cat's just like 150 pounds, and like it's actually balding.
It's gonna be a pile of bones soon.
Yeah. All right. Well, I'll move on to the next question, which is, because I think we've done that one. We'll do the Martina Markota stuff. So during the 2021 election, Mersh stumbled into Martina Markota's stream, telling her that he's the most famous he's ever been. After expressing his bitter disappointment by her apparent lack of interest in talking to him, he continued to drunkenly flirt with a severely disinterested Martina. Having once claimed, "There's always a bitch willing to fuck me," how would you describe Mersh's romantic prospects? And what do you think his agenda with Martina was?
I think he was drunk and he was like horny posting basically with Martina. I really think that, and he's almost in his mind. He's like, she's trying to make it big in the you want to be famous, don't you? Like that old line. You want to be famous, don't you? Well, you jump on my. I have all these, and then that stream was rough to watch. That was a rough watch. You could tell she was like. Can you leave? And he doesn't pick up on it because in his mind, she has a lot of viewers. She wants his dick. She did not want his dick. What his actual? I don't know if he actually thought he would be able to bang her. Maybe it was to like, watch, boys. I'm gonna show you how it's done. He's walking in like this. Watch this. He's cracking his knuckles. He walks in. Fumbles completely, can't pick up on it, just like he couldn't pick up on why Pat Dixon didn't know who he was, why he can't pick up why I don't know why, like, I don't know if Medicare has cancer or not. The lack of situational awareness. There's no situation. I don't know what it is. I don't know if he's like purposely, like, if he's aware, but trying to like, pretend he's not aware and try to like big dog the person. I don't know. I honestly I have all I know. It's crazy to watch. Like that was uncomfortable. Am I right? That was like a weird watch.
Yeah, it was.
That was like the weirdest thing ever.
Well, it got incredible extensive coverage from both Mike David and yeah. I mean, and look, I know Jesse. He's not terribly willing to share Mersh stuff, which is fine, but
Yeah.
I have to applaud both. I thought that the Red Bar coverage was hilarious. I love Jesse's coverage of it as well,
yeah.
and yeah, I mean, for it to sort of appeal to both of those audiences just shows you exactly how cringe-inducing and how embarrassing the whole event was. I thought it was up there
tough
with
to watch.
It was
tough to watch.
Yeah, it was up there with the most recent Show Me Kitties stuff. It's very much in the same vein, and the greatest thing about it as well is that I can really see the exchange he had with Show Me Kitties. I can imagine Show Me Kitties having the exact same kind of general what's the word? The same sort of general attitude, let's say, as Martina had, in that kind of like indifference, the kind of like, because you're dealing with Mersh, you're dealing with someone who's about 5'6", you're dealing with someone who's severely overweight and balding. I'm sorry, Mersh, but I know in your head you think that you're some Casanova that Show Me Kitties is holding on to your every word and wants to fuck your brains out and wants to fall in love with you. But that's not reality. That isn't how you exist in the real world. In the real world, you're a pear-shaped, fat, bald guy with a paedophile mustache. Like, that's who you are. You're not a... And look, I have to say, you're not a romantic prospect.
May I ask you something, actually?
Certainly.
Do you think that he thinks that for real?
Yeah.
Like, how does he lack that self-awareness of, like, you know, like, it's very, I don't want to say like I can read a chick's mind, but it's very easy to tell when a girl is uncomfortable or when you're being like over the top. And he goes like past the line of awkwardness, like it's like 10 messages in, 10 sentences in. And I really can't comprehend how he doesn't have that self-awareness of a woman going, yeah, thanks.
Well, I think his ego has been severely distorted by the small number of incredibly dedicated middle-aged women who invade his DMs on a regular basis, and the likes of Trolita, who I think is just like sort of a mentally ill woman who's a complete sycophant for celebrity. And these women are like, it's like Jesse calls them dog brains. They are dog brains. They are, to them, an internet celebrity is Jake Paul. Mersh is Jake Paul to them, and they don't see any difference. So they will slide into his DMs and they will leak their nudes because that's all they've got. But there is, I think when it comes to the likes of Martina Makota, and I think I don't know Show Me Kitties though. I can't really speak for her, but Martina Makota, you can just tell by her response that this was not a two-way thing. This was not reciprocal energy. This was a woman very weirded out by the simp-ridden advances of a obese bald man.
Like when he's trying to hit on Show Me Kitties, right? He says something along the lines of, so she adds him as a friend, and he goes, I'm surprised that you added me as a friend. I thought you fucking hated me. How is that an opening line? How is that in any way? Like, and when she switched the theme to the gay pride flag, like for me, I'd go like, I'm gonna turn my phone off. I'm gonna go to bed. It's over.
Delete contact. Just forget the whole fucking thing.
Yo, when? He went on and on and on. How's the boy?
How's the boy? And your dad.
No, but it's not even that. He's like, how's the boy? And she replies with like a sweat anime style, like, and then he goes, and dad? She goes, the dad, like who's
my dad,
the
or
father? Yeah, my dad or the kid's dad? And then he goes, what, you don't remember I gave you that bottle of vodka and you said that you're gonna bring it to your dad? Like in his mind, he remembers every sentence.
Every transaction. He's
like, oh yeah, that did happen. I guess that it did. Yeah, like imagine going,
like in his head, he knows the exact price as well. He's like,
but it's not even like he went, oh, and did your dad enjoy that bottle of vodka I gave you? He went, and Dad? She goes, which one? You said you're going to give that bottle of vodka to your dad. And she goes, oh, yeah. I shared it with my dad. I didn't know that's what you meant.
Yeah, why are you grilling me on this, by the way? I'm sorry, you gave me the vodka. I didn't know this was going to be a long-term... what the
Isn't she do cam stuff, right? She's a cam girl, right?
I don't know the girl. Up until...
Maybe I'm wrong. I don't want to...
I think she... from what I've heard, it sounds like she was. Now, I didn't really know her until... I mean, I still don't know her, but...
Fine. I'm not trying to like degrade her or anything, but what I'm trying to say is, if she's a cam girl, or I mean, just her, like, I mean, she's a good-looking chick. She's probably had a lot more interactions since you, Mersh. She's not thinking about the time that Mersh gave me the bottle of vodka for my dad, and also, you gave a girl that you kissed a bottle of vodka for her dad? Like, what? That's crazy.
Wow, that's...
It's just, every sentence is insane.
Oh, yeah.
I would even... I know, okay, like, you've asked me a lot of questions. So we've talked about all the crazy stuff that Mersh has done. I'm not kidding. I think that those texts with that girl, Kitties, is the craziest thing I've ever seen Mersh do, because it's a culmination of everything. Lack of self-awareness, thinking that he's bigger than he actually is, thinking he's attractive, thinking that people remember every interaction.
There's a bit of Mersh effectness going in there as well, of like, you owe me, and like, you're part of the community and all that.
I remember he came onto my show Twisted Mind when it was on still. He went on. I remember him. He brought up, or it was on the 24-hour stream. Actually, not a lot of things happened on that stream. But he goes, "You don't remember like the 3 years ago when you said this?" And I'm like, "No, I do not remember that. If I hurt your feelings in 3 years, you're still holding." And he's like, "No, I'm just saying, I don't remember that." Like, if I for him, he remembers every little interaction, and then to him, he's done so much crazy shit to me or said stupid shit about me, that for me it's like, oh, so 3 years ago, 4 years ago, I said this thing, and you're still upset about it after you said all of these things. Like, I don't remember. I mean, maybe I was a dick to you, sure. I'm addicted to people sometimes, you know? Like, I don't think... And by the way, he's like, oh, but I'm over it.
Yeah,
are ya?
Sure you are. Sure you are. Because everybody else has relatively forgotten about that. But...
yeah, I can't remember, like, those, like, I would have to rewatch it, you know what I mean? I would have to, like,
It's the same with the same with the Show Me Kitties text. Now, while the show was going on, I was, so uncomfortable. I was screaming, basically. I was
in chat. We both were.
Just everything I wrote in chat was all caps, and I'll make no apologies for that. And but and like you said, it was the craziest thing I've ever seen. Definitely worse than the Dick Masterson leaks. And but I don't know what my brain has done, but I seem to have flushed them out of my memory. Like, I can't even think of one of them. All I've got is like a memory of how I feel about seeing them, and I just heard you like roll them off like from your memory, and I don't know what it is.
I'll tell you what.
But I've totally forgotten.
I'm gonna explain why I remember them.
Yeah.
So I watched Jesse PS's show, and you saw me in chat. I was going nuts, and then I called a bunch of friends on Discord, and then we rewatched the segment, and we all freaked out. Then the next day, I was talking with my girlfriend, and I'm like, you have to watch this. So I've seen it 3 times in 2 days.
Oh my fucking life.
Because it was, and by the way, everyone was blown away. Like, there was not like one person who was like, Andy, this is, everyone's like, what the fuck? What? Like, everyone. It was so funny. And I remember it because Because I've seen it so many times, and I'm probably gonna watch it a fourth time. I'm not gonna lie to you.
Well, I mean, when it comes to that part of the documentary, I'm sure that it will be cemented into my brain like everything else that I've covered is. But I mean, the one interesting thing about that is that obviously Balisong, we both saw him on the show, and we both see that, you know, he's this eccentric European Rasputin type who's off his rocker completely. He's incredibly. I found him really likable. I thought he was just this manic energy, cool. This ball of just wild energy. And obviously, I think Mersha's really sort of honed in on the simp angle. And look, when it comes to Balisong and Show Me Kitties having a relationship, like, that is... Even me hearing it, I'm like, you know, like, I don't like that. I don't like that. I don't think you should be having relationships with people from across the world, really. Necessarily. Yeah. And I think especially if, and this is no disrespect to Shomiki, she seems like a perfectly normal person, but especially with someone with, you know, cam girl history, single mom, all that kind of stuff, it's just. And Mersh, rightly so. If I was in his position, I would also hone on that and just spam simp to Balisong, because that's all Mersh is doing. Yeah. And, you know, God bless and fair play to him. It's his only move. It's literally the only move that he's got right now is to just focus on that and just have his audience just look at Balisong. Look, I'm writing simp over and over again. And fair play, he's doing a really good job of it. But fucking hell... If I was Mersh, I would be humiliated. I would be.
He should be.
I would really feel sick. I would feel physically sick.
You'd rather have a dick pic released of you.
Oh God, I'd rather have a sex tape released. I'd rather have a Ralph Gunt style sex tape with a fucking
revenge pornography.
Yeah.
You know, guilty, like, you know,
because it was the tone of the messages where it started off incredibly simpy, really simpy, really pathetic, like really just like, oh, you hate me, oh, but I really liked you, and all this kind of like really pathetic stuff, and then the minute it turns, because she was not reciprocating, and also because she was correcting the record of what was happening when she talked about how she had panic attacks and all that, Mersh's ego is bruised then, and he becomes like this fucking MRA MGTOW, just fucking like incel energy, just fucking like spins it on a dime, and it's so, because it's like you said, you get the full Mersh experience, like front to back, and the beauty of it as well, it's all in text, so you never even have to hear Mersh. You're just getting the Mersh experience, just reading. It's some of the greatest like literature, I think. I mean, it should be literature that survives the ages, that should be like carved into tombstones and stuff.
It has to be in a grand library. Like Beauty and the Beast style library.
Yeah, should be on should be in parchment, like on a large scroll that like an old priest has to unravel.
Yeah, you have to have like, you know, philosophers dissect, you know, like theorists, you should show this in psychology classes in universities, and you know, like like, we're gonna dissect this, and it would be like, you need a 20-page essay. You could write a fucking book about those texts.
No, you could.
Book. Like, it's because we were like, I was watching with friends, we were pausing it so many times because we had to even dissect even what Jesse and like they were all saying.
Yeah.
We had to even pause it on their statements.
It was too much.
Dissect their dissection, because it was like that's why we were like shouting in all caps, because it was like, oh my God, no, this is too much. Holy fuck.
Yeah, it was.
And he just doesn't, like, he doesn't get it. Holy. Like, he must have been drunk. I hope he was blackout drunk when he was doing that. You know?
Yeah, I mean, that would have to be his only out. I mean, I would. Even then, it's still tricky, yeah.
I have to use the bathroom real bad, bro.
Yeah, you go ahead, man.
All right.
So you'll be happy to know there's not too many left now, so we're definitely hitting the landing strip. So I think we'll do the 375 and 376 ones next. So first the 375. So Whilst decorating his new apartment, Mersch claimed during his show Nightwave to need about $375 worth of equipment to help build his new home studio. This resulted in Mike David of Red Bar Radio fame donating that exact amount as a financial flex on who he saw as a desperate man in a financial bind. Despite knowing Mike David was clearly mocking his level of poverty with the gesture, Mersch kept the money anyway, essentially selling what remains of his self-pride for under $500. Do you think it was wise for him to keep the money?
After all the crazy dumb shit Mersch has done, I think that is the least egregious thing, because at least he got money. I mean, everything else he does, he loses self-respect for, right? So at least he's getting paid for it this time, you know? That was the best, by the way. That was amazing. But yeah, he at least got paid for, because everything else he's doing for free, right? The BMW breaking down, Martino Marcota, embarrassing himself on the 24-hour stream, everything. I could go on through the entire list. That one, at least he made a buck, but it was embarrassing. I mean, I don't like. It's not the worst thing he's done, you know?
I think
in my opinion, he's gotten paid.
Yeah, I think that for me, it's the sense that because the interesting thing is, Mike David has done this before with the likes of Josh Denny, where he tried to give him money, and Josh Denny, in a rare act of sort of self-pride and in retaliation, he sent the money back.
Josh Denny?
Yeah,
even
Josh Denny sent the money back. Even Josh Denny was above getting sympathy money from Mike David. And for me, like, I understand the Mersch's perspective, and the cope that he sort of came up with during the day was that he realized that he would do this thing where Mike David is a Jew, therefore I'm, I've never seen a Jew pick up the tab before, so I'm going to keep the money. And then I'm just left scratching my head of like, well, who's the Jew in this situation? Because you're using you're seeing $375 and you're using any reason to keep that. And for me, I'm not trying to flex my financial situation, but $375 for me is really a negligible amount. It should be if you're somebody in your 30s, that should be a negligible amount, and especially if I'm receiving that from somebody that's going to use the situation to make fun of me. I've got too much self-respect to keep that money.
Yeah, no, look, for anyone, myself included, it'd be like a PayPal. You hit a return refund button, the cancel button or whatever, the cancel the transaction. Anyone would do that, but Mersch has done so much worse that that's somehow better. Because I don't. It's so hard to explain.
Is it like that?
Am I making sense here?
Is it like that? Mersch at this point has already sunk to the depths of no return.
Yeah.
That he might, like, it's not going to be any worse for him if he just keeps it. Like, the difference between him keeping the money or not keeping the money, if he doesn't keep the money, he's not. I mean, he might feel better about himself, but no one's going to automatically start respecting him. So he might as well keep the money. At least this way he's got $375, which, again, as Mike David says, in his world seems to be life-changing amounts of money.
It's life-changing, because he's like, in terms of self-respect or respect in general from other people on the outside of his fan base, he's already at rock bottom, right? So you're already on the ocean floor. So, like, you can't go lower, and then he could somehow try to manipulate his audience, who is very, as we've established here, is very easy to manipulate, to go, well, look, I'm the one keeping his money, so who won there? Hmm? And his audience is like, you know what? He's right.
But
These are the people who pay for his cat's vet bill. Do you understand? Like, so they could, like, so Mike David giving him money to them, it's like, oh, Merce trolled Mike David.
the funny thing is, though, Mersh is acting like in this situation, he's acting like Mike David didn't expect that there was a chance that Mersh was going to keep the money. Mersh, it was almost like Mersh thought that he outsmarted Mike David out of $375, like as if like, ha ha ha, I got one over you, I've got your money now. And it's like, well, Mike David knew that going in. He gave you the money. you didn't you didn't win. You didn't outsmart anybody. You didn't take somebody's money. Somebody gave you money. You're a homeless man sleeping on a shop front door in a sleeping bag, and somebody gave you a bag of McDonald's. You didn't get one over on him.
Yeah.
You're just eating his charity.
but somehow I really would, I wish I want to believe that his audience goes, nah, this is kind of fucked.
Oh no.
Mersh. I'm really hoping that they're saying that in their mind and going, you know, I kind of like this show, so I'll give him a pass here. I hope, because I really do think that a lot of his audience is like, you know what? Yeah, everyone in my world that watches Mersh sounds like Mersh, by the way. They're, you know what? Yeah, you got him. You got him. For me, I'd be like, fuck out of here, you piece of shit. Like, I'll ban, I'll block, I'll fucking return your money, suck a dick. I'll make fun of you. I'll try to like make fun, you know, I'll try to find shit to make fun of you for. Anyone would. I think almost anyone in the world, in the entire planet would, which is what makes Mersh so special.
Yeah, it really does.
That's what makes Mersh really a special person to just watch.
Oh, he's fantastic. You know? He's my favorite. Again, there's all these accusations, and I'm strictly in line with Jesse's thinking on this, in the sense that there's a misconception that I hate him, and I genuinely don't. Like he's
I don't hate him either. That's the thing is,
when he goes on porcelain rants on his channel, I'm like a kid watching Power Rangers. I'm there. I'm like eyes wide open, smile on my face, just like say the thing, and it's there's no bit bigger delight in my life than having Mersh as part of it.
I don't hate Mersh either. I mean, like, to me, it's all funny. You know, he went on a rant about me the other day. I'm like, okay, all right, what's he gonna say? And it was all wrong. Everything was so wrong that his entire audience was like, you're wrong about this. You're like, his entire audience was like, actually, and they're all talking about teeth for some reason. Like, an hour and a half rant about me and Kyler, and they're talking about teeth and saying he's wrong. Like, that's amazing to me. I was just like, wow. Like, maybe some things were right. Like, Andy was a dick to me. Sure, fair. That's... And then, like, some things you're just like, wait, what? It's all the mental gymnastics, right? He's able to convince himself a 375, right? He's able to convince himself that he's the one winning. His audience, he's the one, right? So he's convincing himself. He's just, and everything is, I got a Beamer. They're making fun of me, but they're just jealous. I have a Beamer. He's mental gymnastics. He's lying to himself, right? I don't know. I really wish that, I hope that there's some, like, in his mind, he's like, I know I'm wrong about this, but I'm gonna lie. But I don't think there is that. That's the crazy thing. Like, I don't think, like, I thought that for the longest time, that, you know, sometimes you'll be embarrassed about something you did, and you'll sort of like, well, actually, I didn't mean it like that, right? Everyone has had those moments. But for him, it happens for everything. So then at a certain point, you're like, wait, is he just lying, like, on purpose? But no, I really do feel as if his own mental gymnastics works on himself.
Well, the biggest one of the biggest sort of cope that he'll go through anytime one of his many missteps is sort of exposed to himself is well, I already discussed that on my channel. Well, we already know about that. And it's like that's not an admission of that's not kind of a way of washing it away. I mean, it's still it's like, you know, you can say to him, oh well, you flagged Pretty Dick 69, which he did do. He mass flagged Pretty Dick 69 simply for being a sort of, you know, doing merch clips, and he received about 6 copyright strikes, all from Nightwave Radio, all from Mike Shealy. And his channel got terminated for, and all the clips were fair use. There were small isolated clips with transformative descriptions on them, and as the Sargon and I can't remember her name now, as that case demonstrated, that's absolutely fair use. And he just spammed copyrights on it, and then you bring that up to him or his audience, and the response is, well, yeah, he talked about that. Yeah, he already talked about that. And it's like, that's not the end of the transaction. That's not the end of the issue. That, oh, you talked about it, therefore, you know, erase it. That's not how it works.
Yeah. Well, I already actually mentioned that. I actually mentioned that I called cops on people, so. And go on. Anything that's like, what do you have to say about that? Like, you know what I mean? It's
imagine if I was arrested. I don't know. Let's say I was arrested for kidnapping somebody, and they brought me into the police station, and and they're like, yeah, well, you know, we're arresting you on suspicion of kidnapping or whatever. And I'm like, well, yeah, I already talked about this. I already wrote about this in my diary.
Yeah. You know what?
I already called my dad about this. He knows all about it. So, you know, it's not the end of the issue. It's simply not.
Well, it's like, from my personal experience, my like embarrassing moment, the aim, right? A lot of people, like, even like, because a lot of people are starting to watch me again because of the Kino Casino show I have with Ashton. So I have this new show with Ashton, and, you know, all these people who used to watch me from back in the day, who that embarrassing moment made them stop watching me, are now back. And they're like, by the way, what about that aim thing? And I go, I know, I learned from it. I was on drugs, and then I quit drugs, and I was spiraling, and that was my wake-up call. And they go, oh, that's cool. I'm happy to hear that. I don't go, I already talked about it. I'll let them know. You know what I mean? Like, I'll let people know. You have to let people know that you've grown from that experience. You don't just go.
Well, the difference with you as well is that you
learned from it.
Well, not only that you learned from it, but you also spent some time to reflect. You took yourself away from the situation for a time as well. You know, you didn't just gloss over it. You didn't just. It wasn't like the day after someone was in your chat saying ha 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 aim, and then you just went, well, you know, that was yesterday. It was already on stream, so you know, it's not a big.
I spent 2 years self-reflecting on that and came back.
I don't even think it was a big deal. I thought it was funny.
And
like,
honestly, let's be honest,
I thought it was hilarious.
Let's be honest, aim ruled. Like, you know, I'm just gonna say this right.
It was hilarious. You told someone to point a gun at somebody, and they did.
They did. They loaded the weapon too.
Yeah,
over them following us.
Over the minimum of violent confrontation, and it just escalates to like, get the gun. I mean, that's hilarious. If we're talking about IRL content, and we're talking about how much we enjoy, you know, whether or not it's RV6 and you know, and all the stuff that happened there, or Bates and the macing and all that kind of stuff, we're supposed to enjoy this. This is good, fun content. And yeah, you know, like, in an ideal world, we wouldn't be pointing guns at each other. But
when I said aim, and he pulled up the gun, I was even like, wow. And then I actually went back and I Scorsese'd the angle.
Hell yeah.
Like you could like watch it again and look at the framing. Like it was like it was like I was filming a found footage movie, you know, but it was like scripted,
yeah, like you're about to
wasn't.
see bullet time or something.
Was it?
All right, let's move on to Jesse's 376. So Jesse of the Pod Awful Show then donated $376, so one more dollar than Mike David, only to charge it back when Mersh refused to play his Streamlabs media. A subsequent and rather complicated PayPal dispute resulted in both Jesse and Mersh keeping their respected monies. So PayPal refunded Mersh, but they also, because of the dispute, sometimes PayPal does this. It did it with a transaction of mine, actually, a couple of years back, where they eat up the loss because it's too complicated. And especially if it's a relatively smaller amount, then they'll sometimes do that. So Jesse got to keep his money, Mersh got to keep his, and that was the end of the dispute. Mersh would however spread the narrative that he was actually taking money from Jesse, I guess in a desperate effort to try and record a rare win against like his mortal nemesis. Why do you think he would so flagrantly lie?
Like lie about a refund?
Well, Mersh he essentially was lying that he was taking money from Jesse. That's not how the dispute works. He was lying about the fact that PayPal was siding with him, and essentially no, PayPal was simply just closing the matter in the sort of most neutral way it could possibly do it. Jesse proved, he showed all the screenshots, all the things that you needed to see. Jesse showed those on his show that he actually did get the money back. In fact, Jesse got more because Mersh donated another $5 to Jesse.
Yeah, $5.
Yeah, so Jesse ended up actually getting $381. So he actually I would suppose that would make Jesse come out on top, really. But yeah, so essentially Mersh was spreading the narrative to his audience that he was he took money from Jesse, and that
I know why. Wanna know why? Because he can, and they will believe him. He knows they'll believe anything. The mental gymnastics works in his mind and works in their mind. And to him, everything Jesse can have literally every piece of proof, every receipt laid on the table, and they're like, yeah, right, it's the long hair man. You're gonna believe the long hair man? And they will believe it. He can just, and he somehow is able to make it like believe it himself. It's like a guy who's like lied about a story so many times that he forgets that it was a lie, and now it's the truth to him. Like he's a pathological liar, or maybe he does think that that's what happened, and no matter what receipt is put in front of him, he's like, no, I don't even want to see it. No, and he has to be like, you can't just go, yeah, all right, well, at least I got the $375 from PayPal. You can't just like admit it and just go like, yeah, okay, like we both got something out of this. He has to be on top, and they'll believe him. That's why they believe him. So he can do it.
Yeah.
That's why, like, his audience never calls him out on his lies, and if they do, he bans them, right? So when you're so used to your audience believing everything that you say, you know, my audience, they'll DM me and go, what the fuck is like that's wrong about that. But I don't do that, right? But if I am wrong about something, I'm like, wait, what happened? Okay, okay, cool. Because some people just can't, they can't be wrong. And it reminds me of this episode from Malcolm in the Middle. I know it's a random a show to bring up, but it was the mother of Malcolm, Lois, and she can't be wrong about anything. And there was a time where she like pulls out of the store or whatever, and she is in the wrong and is in a car accident. And she's like, no, he was in the wrong. 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 They end up showing her a video, and Hal is there, and he sees it, and they're showing them the video from the parking lot, and go, no, like, you're the one who crashed the car. And she went, that's not true, while pointing at the video. That's Mersh. That is Mersh. You could show him video evidence, and he'll be like, no, not anyway. And then someone will bring it up the next day. Talked about it yesterday. Oh, you did? Okay. But you were wrong.
Yeah.
That's what it always reminds me of that. I brought that up to Kyler one time where I'm like, you ever see that Malcolm in the Middle episode? And he's like, I actually did see that one.
I've seen the episode as well. I enjoyed that show.
That's exactly.
Yeah, you're spot on. It's exactly that is that is him to a T, right? Question 19. Having relentlessly attacked Baked Alaska for years on his show Nightwave Radio, Mersh was confronted by the streamer whilst out in Tampa. The incident saw Baked Alaska repeatedly point out how fat Mersh was, before seeing him waddle away at the suggestion of a good old-fashioned fist fight. How badly does this expose Mersh's internet tough guy facade? Or was he right to refuse a physically engaging challenge?
So, yeah, it totally just breaks. It makes everything fall apart, right? Because he does act very tough. But from what I recall, his excuse, his looking at the video and saying that's a lie, is he said there were cops across the street. So if he was in a fight, they would have been in trouble. However, if you watch the footage closely, there are no cops across the street. Baked claims there was no cops across the street. He didn't know what to do. In fact, he was even like, hey, what's going on, man? Remember when he goes, oh, what's up? And then Baked starts just relentlessly like just destroying him. And then he walked away after the fight. And it was a brilliant moment, right? And I don't know, do you think he should have fought him?
Well, that's a good point you raise. In that he started to walk away before the fight offer was even made. He was just clearly intimidated from the get go, or maybe he just didn't want to be caught on film with Baked there. And there are definitely a number of ways to look at it. In an ideal world, I think most physical confrontations like that. The thing is, it wasn't really a physical confrontation. It was just, why don't you fight me, bitch, from Baked Alaska. Now that as a scenario, if that had played out for me, I'd think it was funny. Like, I wouldn't take it seriously at all. I'm not there thinking Baked is actually going to punch me. I'd stand and talk to him, and I'd make fun of him for trying to fight me on the street. It's the idea that Mersh waddles away in almost immediately.
I know what it was. The moment Baked goes, "You're fat," in Mersh's mind, he went, "This is gonna be on Pod Awful, goddammit. I gotta get out of here before there's more footage for Jesse. This is like every second I'm here, there's another week of content for Pod Awful." Like,
yeah.
Like every sentence, he's like, "Well, that's another 10 minutes. Oh, that's another 10 minutes."
Yeah, every turn is another angle. He's gonna be focusing on my curves, on my tits, on my gut.
yeah, basically, it is. He's like, shit. If he stayed there, it would be like Pod Awful has fucking, for the $20 pizza fund, you get fucking 7 eps, I've always 3 hours eps.
I've just always felt that this idea of Mersh actually taking him seriously as a kind of like, we're accelerating this to physical violence. I think that is such a cope for someone who spends his time, basically playing wrestler heel to a series of online participants and screaming and yelling at anybody who dares cross him in a kind of in this sort of DC villain on a rooftop kind of fashion. Like, for him to go from that to seeing Baked Alaska, someone that he's got a lot to say about him, clearly. I mean, he's done a series. He spent a whole summer covering his RV6 experience and the Sammy saga and all the glory of Baked Alaska that year. That was incredibly riveting watching. But the minute he's confronted with Baked Alaska on the street, the only thing he can do is tap his belly and walk off. Like, that to me, and look, we can all talk about, what's he supposed to do? Fight him? That's not the only option in that scenario at all. Mersh could have stood right where he was and made fun of him.
Made fun of him, yeah.
Made fun of him. Just be like, laugh at the notion of like, yeah.
Look at your bleached blonde hair. You can do it, whatever. Yeah.
He could have finally.
He's a stand-up comedian, isn't he?
Yeah, I mean, for somebody in Mersh's situation, that should be a dream come true to be faced with someone like Baked Alaska. It's like if I was walking up the road in London here and then Mersh just pops up out of nowhere with a camera and just says, "Fight me, fight me, fight me." Like, I would be insane to walk away from that. I would be fucking mental to walk away from Mersh just walking up my street with a camera telling me, like, saying, "Fight me." I would have 1,000 things prepped immediately in my mind. I'd sit there and I'd interview him live on his own show, and I'd be asking him the same questions I'm asking you here. I'd be going through his entire history, just going, "Mersh, what was you thinking at this point?" Mersh, it'd be like, I don't know if you've seen my interview with Joe Matarese, where I'm literally just, I'm basically just listing every single one of his mistakes to him to the point where he just crumbles. That is my dream. My dream would be for someone like, Mersh in that situation. Not Baked Alaska, because, even though I did the doc on Baked Alaska, I've got a soft spot for him. I don't know what it is. I know that the Fed stuff and all that kind of stuff, but I don't know. He's harmless, really. But
minus the Mace thing.
Yeah, I guess.
That's the only harmful thing.
Yeah, but for Mersh in that...
and he was the insurrectionist, right?
He was the insurrectionist, of course. Yeah, we've got to acknowledge that. But for Mersh, this should have been a dream come true. This was a brilliant opportunity for him. He had nothing better to do. Where the fuck was he going? It looked like before Bates started calling him fat, it looked like he was willing to participate in a conversation when he tapped his belly and blew smoke in the air. Like, it was only when Bates started to physically impose himself on Mersh that Mersh scuttled away like a rodent.
Rumbled, fell apart. Yeah, no, that is true. I think because for him, it's it's easy to be a tough guy on the internet. It's very easy to claim certain things or say certain things. He doesn't want. It's the same reason why he called Jesse for so long hair man. Right? He doesn't want the confrontation, the reality, right? I think he only started calling Jesse long hair, or his name Jesse, not long hair man, was when I started hopping on his show and he was hopping on my show. Because then he was like, he had to acknowledge, okay, it's Jesse. I think that was like the moment. That was the break. So for him, that was his nightmare, dude. That was his nightmare. Like, his nightmare is having to, I can't just hang up the Discord call and go on, open up Nightwave Radio and just start ranting about it and ban anyone who comes in. That's his nightmare. And he doesn't want to, he wants to just make the money off of Baked. He didn't want to interact with Baked. Right? So like, yeah, that was his nightmare. Like, he didn't, even when he tapped his belly, it was sort of like, yeah, I'm fat, no, okay, fuck this. That's what it was. He didn't even want to even run into Baked. His brain was like, no, this can't happen. What was his reaction to it anyway? What did he say?
He said, "You're trying to do that right now."
No, I think for after, like, I think his reaction was, I was with some people heading to like a funeral.
Well, those people that were walking with him were nothing to do with him. They weren't his friends. They were just random bystanders.
And then when everyone found that out, then he said the police were across the street.
Mm.
Like he started adding to actually.
And then he started tweeting out how, well, if I saw him today, then he was trying to basically say that he would actually fight him. Like, did you see those tweets afterwards?
No. Oh my god.
Yeah. So he was tweeting the day after, like he was like, yeah, if he tries to come down again, then it's gonna go different. It's it'll be a different story if he tries that shit again. Like that kind of attitude, that kind of energy.
Too late, buddy. Too late. No, you can't do that after. No, it's there now.
That's Monday night quarterbacking, isn't it, or whatever the phrase is. But yeah, it's and look, because obviously there's an element here of kind of being aware, self-aware enough to realize that I'm not out there looking for IRL encounters with people, but I'm not an internet tough guy. I'm not going around expressing how tough I am, or expressing how I could fight this person. And I've got, trust me, we'll see in the documentary, we'll see the clips, we'll see the receipts of Mersh expressing his internet tough guy. It's that Tonka Saw type. He's done it for years. He's done it for years with all kinds of people. He's in a Tonka Saw way. He's one of the internet's tough guys. And I remember one with, I think it was Alan Powell, and it was when Alan Powell was driving to Owen Benjamin's house, and he was like, "The fuck's wrong with you? The fuck's wrong with you? And he was like talking about like, I should beat your ass. I should be like really going in and like internet tough guying Alan Powell for like, and the irony there is that Alan Powell would absolutely kick the shit out of him. Alan Powell's called him out like plenty of times. Like he wants to fight him. Like he wants to drive there and fight him. Like, but but yeah. So essentially, just to wrap it up, I think that my thoughts on it. Although I'm here interviewing you, but my 2 cents on it is that. He had a great opportunity there, fall on his lap, and I'm not saying Mersh should seek this out. I'm not saying Mersh should try and hunt down the likes of Baked Alaska and try and. But that's a beautiful opportunity falling on your lap. You've got Baked Alaska right there, and Baked Alaska is punking you out. Look, you didn't ask for this, Mersh, but you're in this situation now. You're there with Baked Alaska. He's punking you out. He's on his stream. He's dominating you right there. You are supposedly this kind of like, slick talking, tough guy, internet guy, surely you've got something locked in the chamber that you can come back with him at. Yeah, I mean, Baked is technically offering to fight you, but that's not the only way this discussion can go. I said, you can absolutely make a lot of fucking fun out of this guy. We saw it with when Mersh sent his little sycophant out there to confront Baked Alaska.
Yeah, I saw that.
He stuck around. I mean, he was a tiny manlet, but at least he stuck around. At least he,
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know, like how I would wrap that up.
Oh, we can move on if you don't have much to add.
It's not shocking. Yeah. Sorry, I'm actually getting like exhausted, so my brain is shutting down.
Yeah, I'll wrap up then. I've got
it's all good. I did pound a monster. I was up at like 9 a.m. I don't want to like speak you know what I mean. Like if you want to ask me more, if you have like a lot more, I could jump on in the. Tomorrow I'll be around too.
Well, I've got like maybe 2 or 3.
All right, cool.
So I can just wrap up with a couple.
Sure.
There's some here I don't even need to ask because they're not really that interesting. We'll go to Tiffany Dobson rather. Okay. Is it Tiffany Dobbins or Dobson? I can't remember her name now. But so Mersh wrote a series of emails to Kitsap County Sheriff's Office.
Okay. Yeah.
Providing them with full names of his online abusers and linking them with the Christchurch shootings, courtesy of Kiwi Farms. In the email, he accused his enemies of a number of unproven crimes with baseless accusations of swatting and doxing amongst them. What do you think Mersh was thinking, and what do you make of the overall lack of outrage and attention over what is clearly one of the more considerable of internet crimes?
That's okay. Wait, what he was thinking, I don't know. I really, really like. I'm trying to wrap my head around what possesses a man to ting 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 ting, and tell a detective all this stuff. They were like the detective was like reading that email, going, do we have to even follow up on this? Really? Is this a thing now? The detective's like, oh, I gotta make paperwork for this now. And I have no idea what he was thinking. But I was completely shocked at the way people have been buried for way less. People have been buried for way less than that. And it just somehow it's funny to us. It's funny to everyone and everyone who doesn't like Mersh to go like, holy fuck, that's ridiculous. But to his people, again, I don't know what it is. He could do anything. He could, I'm convinced he could murder a child and his audience would be like, oh, I see why you murdered that child, because he could convince them somehow like why it was okay. I really don't know what he would need to do for them to finally be like, all right, I think that's it. Maybe it's just it's almost like Stockholm syndrome at this point with his audience.
Yeah, definitely.
Like, I mean, I've been watching it for 3 years, 2-3 years. What do I do now? Because it's all about teams with him, If you are not with him, you're against him. And he's against everyone, the Mersh effect, right? Therefore, you better be on his side. And if you watch anyone else, you're against him. Therefore, now you have fallen out of the Mersh effect.
Well, I think it also boils down to this, that not only, I mean, obviously we know what his fan base is, and we know that there's nothing. I mean, when it happened, a small part of my brain was like, maybe this will, shake a couple of apples from the tree kind of thing. Maybe this will, because it's, again, like you said, we've both seen greater downfalls for far less.
Yeah.
And so I think it's a mixture of the fact that Mersh isn't a big YouTube guy. He's not Monday Matt, as far as his size and all that kind of stuff. Although physically speaking, you can argue that. But it's, I think, to a greater degree, I think that there has been a somewhat of a gatekeeping energy around where this sort of stuff used to get called out. What that's morphed into now is this kind of cabal of gatekeepers, where they're all kind of friends, and they're all kind of, the Mersh and the Dick Show guys and the Ralph Retort guys, and I mean, they're all going bowling now. They're all buddied up together. They all look out for each other. They all gunt guard for each. Not only do they gunt guard for not only do audiences gunt guard for their guy, but they'll cross over and gunt guard for Mersh's guys. Mersh's guys will go over and gunt guard for Ralph's guys. Dick's guys will gunt guard for both of them. And it's almost become like a corporate. It's almost like become like a corporatization of this part of the internet, where no one wants to call each other's audiences out because everybody is so intertwined at this stage. And I mean, I could do a whole thing on that alone, on just these three communities together, and the sort of sycophancy between them all, and just I mean, that's the stuff that really does make me sick. And
yeah.
But anyway, so I'll move on to another question just to wrap this up quicker. So I think I definitely got enough from that one. We'll go to CBDX.
Okay.
So Mersh's CBDX sponsorship caused quite the controversy, with the company at one point paying Podawful's Jesse a sizable sum for just one show's worth of reads. After seeing his own sponsor agree to pay Jesse more than him, before having his own paltry amounts exposed, Mersch would proceed to intervene in the contractual affairs of his online adversary, convincing CBDX to pay Revenge of the Sis for reads done on Jesse's show. Do you think that it's fair for potential income from Pod Awful fans to be handed directly to Mersch in this manner?
No. This is no. They're like, it's. Did they agree to that?
Yeah. It's fraud, basically. So, Mersch, or at least Mersch alleges this on his show. He alleges on his show that he spoke to, after all of the CBDX sponsor cooking stuff, Mersch spoke to CBDX, the guy at CBDX, and they agreed that for every sponsor that they do, for every sponsor read that Jesse does, Mersch is going to get paid.
How is a company, your CBD company, part of the Mersch effect? Like, you know what I mean? Like, how did this happen? You know, I don't know. It sounds like a little bit of fraud to me. I don't understand the logic behind this. I don't know what Mersch said to them, or if this is even true. You know, I don't know. Yeah.
Mersch claims it's true, and I guess that's the most. And to be fair, the CBDX guys haven't corrected the record, so
probably true.
Probably true, and they also they seem incredibly shady in their operations. Let's just say that.
It's just like a little bit of CBD and filled up with the rest with water. Just kidding. Yeah. Allegedly, I don't know. I'm not. I don't.
No, that's exactly what they're selling. It's I'm going out on the record. Sue me. All right, let's do question number. Let's do 25. We'll do some of Mersch's weight gain. All right, so April 2021, Mersch responded to a Gavin McGuinness clip in which Ryan Katsu Rivera called him a grifting fatso, and Mersch responded to that by demanding that his detractors should call me fat in August. This was during a time when Mersch was working out, and he thought that he would be, in good shape by August. With Mersch actually increasing in mass due to a continuous stream of Uber Eats and alcohol, he would later move the goalpost to summer of 2022. Can you ever see Mersch summoning the self-discipline needed to get in shape?
It all goes back to the amazing texts with Kitty, where he's like, yeah, I've been working out 4 or 5 days a week, It's just to go, like, I'm going to be buff soon. He's moving the goalpost. I do not see him hitting that goal. In fact, I see him gaining more weight at that point, in which case the goalpost would be moved again. What I'm thinking is, why is he saying this? Why is he doing this? Just don't promise this. Just don't. If you're gonna work out, you should promise yourself that you're gonna do this for yourself. It's not for your viewers. Do you think a bunch of guys who watch Revenge of the Sis care if he's fit, if he's got abs? I do not see them caring. It's not gonna happen. Let's be frank here. Let's be fucking frank here. Let's just be realistic. I'll eat my words. Maybe this documentary will make him go, you know what? I'm gonna do it now. I'm gonna actually do it. And even then, I don't see it happening.
Perfect. All right. Well, one quick mini question, and then we'll go to the final question.
All right.
So the mini question is wig or fade or pedo stash? So wig or fade or the pedo stash, which is your favorite?
I love the pedo stash. Because the reason I love the pedo stash is because everyone is calling it the pedo stash, and he's not shaving it off to prove that he doesn't care. But he cares. Just like Bones, he cares. So he's, I can't. Well, if I shave it off, they're gonna know that I hated them. So now he has to live with a pedo stash. He has to voluntarily live with a pedo stash. Because if he shaves it, Jesse wins.
Perfect. Right. Right. Last question. Bloody hell. Sorry this has been so long. I thought these would roll off a lot quicker, but we've just gotten into so many, like, just tangents and got into so much chat about Mersh that it's just obviously taken about 4 times as long.
Yeah,
right.
No, you're good. You're good.
All right, but it's been fun. I've really, really enjoyed this,
excellent,
though. Yeah.
Man. It's been excellent, dude. Yeah, it's been
and
excellent.
what I'm going to do as well is,
if
if you're okay with it, what I usually do with the interviews, as you've probably seen, I'll cut them a little bit in a sort of, just take off the beginning and ends and then just upload it as a separate thing.
Oh, yeah, cool. Yeah, for sure, man. Yeah, whatever is good.
I'll probably cut out the piss break and stuff like that, though.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think that'll be pretty cool. I think people enjoy that quite a lot, actually. So, final question. Mersh currently has an active, dedicated 1,700 strong subreddit and a 90-page Kiwi Farms thread. In your opinion, is whatever sense of personal or professional accomplishment that he's made worth that level of continuous negative spotlight?
Yes. Wait, and what do you mean? Can you repeat the question?
Okay, so essentially, given that Mersh has a 1,700 strong subreddit that's incredibly active and dedicated to exposing his every move, and also a 90-page Kiwi Farms with the same goal, is whatever sense of personal or professional accomplishment he gets from being an online streamer, is it worth all of the negativity?
Yeah, yes, because all the negative stuff is the funniest shit ever. It's so funny. And honestly, I really didn't think.
Sorry, just a correction. Is it worth it for him? I mean, like, from his perspective.
Oh, it's worth it for him? No, I mean, it's worth it. It's worth for us.
For us.
I thought it's worth it for us. No.
Oh no, of course it is for us. That's a non-question. But for him, having, for your Mersh, and you've built this thing up for yourself. You're reliant completely on an internet show. You're reliant completely on YouTube and Patreon and a lot of these tech companies. Basically, you're at the behest of those. Meanwhile, you've got a subreddit that posts 10 plus things about you every single day. You've got a Kiwi Farms thread that's active and nearing 100 pages, and you got Metica and everybody else that's jumping on every single bad thing that you do. Is the success that you've got in your head, is it really worth all of that other?
No, it's not. The success is not worth it. Maybe if he had a few pages here and there and learned from his mistakes, and okay, fine, sure, but like, it's just one bad thing after another. But for us, it's amazing. Especially, I never thought that it would get worse before I was going to do this interview. And then when that text came out, that I was like, I can't wait for the next one. I can't wait for the next thing to happen. And you know what's going to happen? It's probably going to happen before this is done editing.
Andy,
it's gonna happen before it's done editing, dude.
I had the exact same conversation with Jesse after the whole Arrest the Internet saga. I was like, well, this is it. Surely there's no way this gets worse. There's no way he outdoes us. That he outdoes this. And then the DM leaks have just been everything I've ever dreamed of when it comes to Mike Shealy. They're the most insane things. I'm very careful about over exaggerating anything, because I don't want to make it look like there's sort of an agenda driven by my own kind of interest in this subject. Yeah. But I really hope that people seeing these have the same response, and it sounds like from what you've shared with your friends that that seems to be happening. The general response to these DMs is horror.
Yeah, and a lot of like, my girlfriend doesn't really know Mersh at all. Even she was blown away. You know, she doesn't really follow this stuff at all, and even she was like, "What the fuck?" So yes, it's not just us. It's not just us who find this shit funny. You can show this to any outside source, from like the Mersh effect, from us who follow this, and they would still be blown away. Because I have told people that are not in this sphere, like IRL friends, and they laugh. They're blown away. You know, it's coming from aim. You know what I mean? You know what I mean? Like that's insane. Yeah.
Right, I'm gonna wrap it up there. Also, just to obviously help Andy with his show, the Kino Casino, every Friday. What time, Andy?
Friday at 9:30 p.m. Eastern, and that's on the channel Dakka, DAKKA, twice, with Ashton, aka PPP. We just started it, and it's doing incredibly well for just being a brand new show. It's killing. And also, I work with a small team on a YouTube channel called Subcultured. It's video game videos, like that, like deep diving into them. Doing very, very, very well. And yes, Subcultured, SUBCULTURED. Yeah, and that's it. But Kino Casino is fucking hilarious, dude. It's good. I'm having a great time doing it, and also some other projects in the background as well that I'll be doing in the future soon. But yeah.